Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reap the Spoils. I'm Mark Sullivan.
I'm Delilah Luco.
And I'm Jason Kwasnicki.
Jason, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about Fallout Season 2.
Yeah.
Welcome to Vault Tech Vault 33.
Sure. we're all really thirsty down here in 33. Wait,
Yes, we are. We are very thirsty. Cousin thirsty, in fact. As they love to remind us.
That is not the thirst I was referring to.
Well, the show loves to remind us.
I feel like this season was a lot better about that. It wasn't as like, hey, we fucked our cousins down here, Anyway, Reap the Spoils is a semi-monthly spoiler cast where we typically play a video game. Sometimes we will watch a television show or a movie based on a video game. It has to be video game related. We're a video game podcast. So, if you haven't watched or played the thing we're talking about, in this case, if you have not watched season 2 of Amazon Prime Video's Fallout TV show, the latest season in the Fallout show on Prime Video, I highly suggest you pause this episode, go and watch that season of television. Watch season 1 if you haven't. If you haven't watched season 1, I don't know why you'd be listening to an episode about season 2. But if you haven't watched any of it, go watch it on Prime Video. It only costs you like $140 for a subscription. So just go do it, man. Just go subscribe to Prime. Give what's his name even more money than he deserves.
Bezos?
Yeah, Bezos, thank you. I couldn't remember fucking that. I guess I really try to block him out of my memory. Yeah, go watch that. Come listen.
Bezos is basically like Tarkin from Star Wars. Like, you can't remember his name, but you can see the face. You know he's the evil guy.
But yeah, you just see that evil just in your head, just like Bezos. So yeah, go watch season 2 of Fallout and come back and listen to us spoil it, talk about it, because we are going to spoil Fallout season 2 on Amazon Prime Video. Probably going to talk about season 1, and by extension, we're probably going to talk quite a bit about the greater Fallout canon, the greater Fallout games.
Spoilers for everything Fallout from the entire timeline.
Probably especially, I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm
Vegas.
wrong, but I have a feeling New Vegas is going to come up quite a bit in this conversation, which is a game that I've not played. So I really need to do that.
I never finished it either.
Yeah, I know. Jason, yeah, you're officially, I would say you're probably the resident Fallout expert on for this
Indeed.
episode. So. That being said, okay, yeah, ready for the info block on Fallout Season 2.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, it's mostly going to echo the Fallout Season 1 info block, which in that the show stars Ella Purnell, Aaron Moten, Walton Goggins, Kyle MacLachlan, Agent Cooper, my man, and Moises Arias, among many other people. It was executive produced by Todd Howard and Jonathan Nolan. Who is best known as Christopher Nolan's brother. That was kind of a joke, but I mean...
I found it funny. I got you, Mark. I got you.
The showrunners. I didn't bring up the showrunners in the previous episode, and I don't know a ton about them. Graham Wagner and Geneva Robertson Dwowert. Geneva Robertson Dwowert, in particular, has quite a bit of writing credits on some big productions, including Captain Marvel. And yeah, for the first season, man, I didn't think it was this long ago. The first season dropped all at once on April 10th, 2024. So almost 2 years ago. It does not feel like it was that long ago.
Time's flying.
And season 2, in a bold move, which I feel like a lot of television is doing nowadays, decided it was going to run on a weekly basis, on a weekly cadence, which I love. I think that is awesome. It only would have been better if I actually watched it on a weekly cadence. I completely just missed watching this as it was coming out. But I do respect when a show comes out on a weekly basis. I think that is the best way to release a television show.
You're going to see a lot more of it. I mean, even in Seven Kingdoms, which were 6 30-minute episodes, basically, where it didn't even really make sense. They did the weekly. It just makes more sense from getting viewership and also just the monetary model.
The water cooler
Um,
effect too, I
yes.
think, is just a very good way to get people talking about your show.
Yes.
It just like, yeah, I really love that a lot of television programs are going back to this weekly cadence. I think that is excellent. Keep doing it, please. So, season 2 of Fallout ran starting on December 16th and concluded on February 3rd, 2026. So, that all being said, this is your final spoiler warning for Fallout Season 2 on Amazon Prime Video. If you've not watched it, and if you also haven't watched Season 1, and if you also haven't played Fallout New Vegas, the 2010 video game developed by Obsidian Entertainment and published by Bethesda Game Studios. If you haven't played that, which I haven't, unfortunately, we're going to spoil some aspects of it and all aspects of Season 2. So if you haven't done those things, if you haven't watched those things, played those things, whatever, we're going to spoil them. Final spoiler warning. Go do those things. Pause this episode. Go do those things. Come back. Listen to us. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Let's start with the usual umbrella question. What'd you guys think of Season 2 of Fallout? Who wants to go first?
It's better than The Last of Us season 2.
I will actually. I have to agree. I wasn't
All
as
right.
angry. I wasn't as angry watching this as I
I
was
feel like
watching
I
The
feel
Last of
like that
Us
was
season
like the
2.
easiest bait, Delilah.
Yeah. I actually, whereas I was actively angry with The Last of Us season 2, and I was actively angry with season 1 of this show, as opposed to, I think you guys, if I remember correctly, enjoyed it far more. Whereas I not only did not enjoy season 1, I actively hated season 1 of this show.
Yeah.
With this season 2, I kind of just zoned out.
Mm.
Literally, like there were points where I had to stop and rewind and rewatch just to kind of, yeah, I was kind of
Well,
indifferent.
the fact that you were willing to do that says a lot about your feelings, you know?
Well, I did not want to come into this. I already have. I'm not a super Fallout lore. Like I'm not a super expert in the same way that like some YouTubers within the Fallout community, like Enclave Emily or Cretosis, know the lore ins and outs super intricately. Um, but I do know the lore at an amateur level and do really love the games. Um, and well, at least the non-Bethesda games, non-Bethesda studio games, I should say.
Yeah.
Um, so I do know the lore. If you know the lore, it's also worth noting, just adding to the info block at the beginning, this show is canon, and Todd Howard loves to remind everybody how canon this show is.
Yeah.
Meaning it is as official as the games themselves to the lore, and anything that happens in these shows trumps what happened in the games.
Oh.
Well,
Yes. Todd
well,
Howard has said that.
well, okay. Expound on that. What does that mean? Because
It means that there's a lot of retconning. There's a lot of conflicting information about events. The retconning is the biggest thing. I'm for example, just to use kind of the biggest thing that pissed all Fallout fans, including myself, off about season 1 and is doubled down upon here in season 2, Shady Sands, which is, it begins in the original Fallout as a village. Fallout 2, small town, beginnings of the new California Republic. Fallout New Vegas, Shady Sands is a, not sprawling, but for a post-apocalyptic city, pretty fucking large city, and is the capital of the federation that is the new California Republic, which spans a large swath of territory. In the first season of this show, somehow Kyle MacLachlan found a functioning nuclear warhead in the wasteland apocalypse and nuked Sadie Shan's,
well,
the capital of the new California Republic.
let's push. I just want to push back on that a little bit, like because we do.
I'm just bringing that up because that was established in season 1, and that was a major piss. That was probably the thing that pissed people off the most.
Well,
And that is canon. That is
we
canon now.
but okay. Hold on. But let's talk about that a little bit, right? Because they did show that that happening in this season, which I actually think was a pretty good opening scene. to one of the episodes, whichever episode. I thought it was a good scene. At the very least, like let's bear in mind this show takes place 15 years after the end of New Vegas, right? Or after New Vegas, I guess in general, right? So it's not like time hasn't passed in between those where things could change theoretically in the world of Fallout. And with Shady Sands having been bombed, years prior to the time that this show takes place, it's not an unfathomable like conclusion to come to that happened in between these events, which is shown in this show, right? Um, I don't know like explicitly that it's a nuclear warhead. It definitely is a big bomb. Um, but like they show how he snuck that in and kind of the
Oh,
how
it's an old school atom bomb. Yeah, it's about a 5 kilo. The explosion, at least as it's depicted in the show
yeah.
in the first season, it's about a 5 kiloton, Hiroshima Nagasaki size bomb.
Or maybe it's what's that thing that fires like the mini nukes that uses the mini nukes as the ammo?
Oh, from
What's
in
that
Metal
gun?
Gear, the
No, no, no,
Davy
no, no.
Crockett.
No, not Metal Gear. I'm talking about Fallout. I'm talking about the gun you can get
Oh,
in Fallout
oh,
3 that fires the mini nukes.
I thought you were talking about because in Snake Eater they use the Davy Crockett, which was actually a thing.
No,
It's a
I know.
tactical nuclear
No.
warhead. Yeah.
I know what you're referring to, but with that, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the things in Fallout. Is it the Fat Man? Is the Fat Man the
Fat
one that
Man, it's
launches
the
the mini
Fat Man,
nukes?
yes. The
Yeah, so
Fat
maybe
Man,
it's a
yes.
mini nuke from a Fat Man or something that he just like drops in Shady Sands.
Which is what
Regardless,
the Fat Man, that was the name in the real history of
yeah.
the bombs they dropped on, yeah, Hiroshima and
Regard
Nagasaki.
so ultimately what I want to push back on is like I don't feel like this show is retconning as much as it is just continuing off of existing things in Fallout, but in a less than ideal way. Taking a location with a lot of history and Fallout and just deciding that for the sake of this show, it's just going to be blown off the face of the earth. That's kind of a shame. That's kind of a
Well,
big bummer from a writing perspective to just do
that
that.
is that is that is a very generous way of putting it. The problem is that the years that are written in the show do not correlate with the years as they are established in the games. So technically, it would have had to been bombed before. Now, for some reason,
How do you figure?
it was a
Because
mistake. It was a mistake made in the writing. Like they doubled down on it, but
Mm.
it was a mistake made in the writing room where they made the year it got bombed. I think 2077. I don't want to get too into the weeds with it because you can get very into the weeds with game lore versus the show.
Okay.
The overall thing, though, is that yes, you're right. This takes place 15 years after New Vegas.
Mhm.
At the time of New Vegas, the new California Republic with Shady Sands as its capital is a sprawling, it has multiple states in it, the new California Republic. It is a vast swath of territory that is expanding, has a massive military with tons of bases. They even have fucking air support at the second battle of Hoover Dam. A lot of the storylines for the new California Republic deal with corruption within democracy, all the kind of shit that you would see in the United States today. That's kind of the whole point of the new California Republic. It is the United States recreated in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And
Mhm.
just the capital gets bombed and the whole thing disappears over the course of 15 years.
Yeah.
That's it's just fucking stupid. Like
I wonder
there's no
if it
other
would
way
have
to
been
put it.
better if they just didn't, if Howard didn't say it was canon and just kind of like let the
Well,
show be its own
and
thing.
Yes, precisely.
that's kind of where I was landing in the wake of finishing this season is that I do feel, and I've been reading because as someone that didn't play New Vegas, right? And I know that's long been on my list to do. In years past I would have played that game in full in preparation for this show. I don't have that kind of fucking time anymore.
Yeah, time
So
to change him for real.
yeah, so I did as much reading as I possibly could just to validate and verify whether or not some of the people that are most angry about this show is actually true. I've also talked to some friends that are more familiar with Fallout lore than I am. I'm coming to the conclusion that this show just barely toes the line on not canonizing too much from the ending or from the possible endings you can get in Fallout New
Oh yeah.
Vegas.
The second battle of Hoover Dam, which is the central event at the ending of New Vegas, is the
It's
second
not
battle of
mentioned like at all.
yes,
I
not
don't.
mentioned at all. And that is
Yeah.
the central point of conflict because it's source water,
Right.
power, everything for that region.
Mm-hmm.
Not brought up at all. They're still
They
relying on that stupid ass fusion thing
Cold
from the first
fusion.
Well,
season.
we'll get to the cold fusion MacGuffin, at some point, like very soon, I'm sure, because it is as much as I didn't think it was gonna amount to anything by the end of Fallout Season 1, it kind of felt like it was just a MacGuffin to move that show's plot or that season's plot along, and then was concluded by the end. No, it still is an extremely important
Yeah.
MacGuffin for some fucking reason in this season of television.
Yeah.
So, but that we'll get to that
Yeah.
momentarily. But
Without
like
without
ultimately,
if I could just say without kind of spreading out too far, just having used the new California Republican Shady Sands, that example that I just laid out,
Mhm.
my overall thoughts on both last season and this season, especially, given the writing, how great the writing is in New Vegas, this show is written by a bunch of people who don't understand Fallout, don't understand the intricacies and the complexities and nuances of the writing, and have dumbed everything down for a
Well,
general audience from moral complexity and grayness and realism to dumb humor, dumb this is the good faction, this is the bad faction, dumb conflicts that have nowhere near the complexity. It's just dumbed down and turned into slop.
I think part of the
They don't
problem,
even
not even
understand the tone of the games. They think they've turned it from a serious look at, and when there is humor, it's dark humor, a serious look at the gritty realism of human nature into Marvel-esque humor
well,
is the best way I can put it.
I think that's a large scale problem with a lot of writers' rooms in the wake of the MCU in the mid, in the 2010s and whatnot. Um, but that's a whole
Yeah.
other can of worms.
The writers, even the catchphrase of the series, war never changes. The writers don't even understand what that means in the context of the games. They completely get it wrong what that phrase, what the actual thematic purpose of that phrase is.
Anyway, if we can just go
Yeah.
back, Jason.
All right, sorry.
If
Yeah,
we can
go
just go
ahead.
back.
I just wanted to. That's my summary of how I feel about this show in its
I
entirety.
Right. I understand. And I yeah, I get it. But like when it comes to this show, when it comes to this show's place within canon, like it really does go out of its way to be very, very careful for the most part to not necessarily canonize too much from Nuve. From what I understand, there are still some things like there's only an ending, there's only one specific ending scenario in New Vegas where there's a where the strip is overtaken by death claws, so that aspect is somewhat canonized. And like some other things, but it overall does try to not take any major stake conclusions from Fallout New Vegas and make them law in terms of this is like what actually went down, which I think is really important. If you're going to have a show like this be canon, if you're going to have it fit in with all the other Fallout games, like something you, in my opinion, you need to do is respect that those games involve a lot of player choice and not canonizing like very big endings, very big outcomes that a player can achieve makes it so that anything you put out in the future doesn't step on what a player may have decided to or not to do in a game. And my understanding is that this show didn't make too much of what how New Vegas could conclude like definitive, which is I think is at least at the bare minimum the right move. That being said, I do kind of wish this was not canon because it would mean that
Yes.
it would mean that it also doesn't have to may inform on things that may or may not happen in the future with future games, right? If they were never if Bethesda ever actually does release Elder Scrolls 6 and decides to move on to a Fallout 5, um if that takes place later in the timeline, it's going to be required. It potentially could be required viewing for someone to get an Amazon Prime subscription and watch the show, in order to fully understand the lore and stuff. And I feel like that's not the right move for a video game and a video game franchise like this.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
But I think Fallout is also at its best when it is a little more disconnected. When it does have a game set in a setting that might inform on like other games and other areas, but like not be totally tied to those areas, not be totally tied to those stories. Even though, from what I understand, Fallout 1 and 2 sort of do that, even though it's like 80 or so years
Yeah,
removed
there's
from each
generally a
other.
good amount of time separating the games.
Yeah.
Enough so that different endings can still kind of curve around and come to similar conclusions in the setup for the
Yeah.
next game. Um,
Enjoyed season 1 more than season 2, but I do feel like I wonder if this is a medium issue because a lot of my experience with Fallout the video games is that a lot of the faction information and the world and what's happening and the complexities of it comes through side quests, like comes through that
Hmm.
level of exploration that you just really can't do. And the decisions, it's kind of cool that the show, like, you can see when there's a decision path, and I think they do that really well. But they're choosing the choice, and so there's not enough like, oh well, if you choose this, it's like this. If you choose that, it's like that. And I think of, not to spoil like any of the Fallout games, but I think of, so many people will not understand just how complex certain things are within an ending unless they do a companion quest. And it reveals so much more about the faction and, what's going on with the characters and stuff like that. And so because everything's kind of like laid out and the decisions are being made and that there's no player choice, I feel like they're kind of doing their best with what the medium offers. I mean, I hate to say it, but like it's just easier to, in my opinion, to tell complex stories in a video game than it is in a show that, is going to have however many seasons. And I think a lot of people, like the general population, and why it's appealing so much, and like Jason said, dumbing it down, is because I feel like if you have side quests, or like branching, paths in a show, it's going to turn people off because they probably just want to follow Lucy and Cooper and all of the main characters. So I think it's ultimately an issue with the medium, but I do think that they try to have like, you can see like certain stats in certain characters. Lucy like really working on the charisma. And I think I said this in season 1. Cooper has like a lot of stats in like, the gunplay and strength potentially. So I do feel like they have a lot of good elements in there that makes it feel like a good Fallout show experience. But I think the medium in itself is just limiting.
just
On that note,
can
go
I
ahead,
add
Jason.
real quick?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Delilah, the reason you're coming at it like that about side quests needing to have side quests and those choices is because you're referring from the Bethesda games, specifically 3 and 4, where the main stories suck and the only vaguely good parts of the game are the side quests. New Vegas's central main story is, and the reason why so many Fallout fans swear by it is the main story itself is extremely intricate and geopolitically complex, as well as morally, just as much as any of the side quests. Same with 1 and 2.
And I
It's
think
mostly the Bethesda games that are like that. It's not so much. It is a medium problem in the sense that there's a lot of video game logic going on in terms of certain action pieces, but the problem is mostly, I think, in the dumbing down of the philosophical, the moral conundrums. You don't necessarily need the choice, to a player choice, in order to present a compelling story. There's just this isn't a compelling story; it's a dumb story.
on the just real quick on the note of the New Vegas story and why it's sworn so much by the community. It is largely developed, or it was largely developed by folks that worked on the original Fallout games, which
Yes,
are
Chris
largely
Avallone,
considered by
Chris Avallone is considered like the god of Fallout lore. And he was the
um
writer on it. Yeah.
yeah, and I did Josh Sawyer
I can't remember. I know.
I'm checking now. He was at Black Isle, but he did not seemingly work on the original Fallout games. He
And
started with New Vegas.
it's also worth noting that New Vegas was rushed in development through 18 months and was built from the bones of Christ, I can't remember the name of the
Fallout 3.
project. Yes,
Oh,
it
Van
was
Buren.
essentially what?
Van
Van
Buren?
Buren, yes. Project Van Buren, which was originally supposed to be Fallout 3. So it's
Yeah.
New Vegas is essentially Fallout, the real Fallout 3.
In some ways, yeah, I guess you could say that. So yeah, the one I wanted to go off of something you said, Delilah, with like being able to see some of the stats, some of the traits, and we talked about that. I believe, if I remember correctly, we talked about that quite a bit with season one. Something I really did like about this season was Lucy developing a drug addiction due to
No, that was
getting
such a good
treatment.
episode.
I think that was a very clever way because I feel like taking not I can't even call them like recreational drugs, but like taking drugs just to like enhance whatever stat temporarily in most of my Fallout experience is going to come from Fallout 3. I'm very sorry for that. I need to fix it, I know. Um but like taking those drugs and like if you abuse them, like you will develop an addiction. It will have detrimental effects, and they actually showed that in an episode of television adapting this game series. Like I thought that was very smart, that was very clever, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. I thought that was great. Probably the only aspect of this season where I feel like they really kind of showcased the RPG elements that Fallout games can have in television. Season one kind of did that a little more, which kind of makes sense. It's the first crack at adapting something like this, so I can kind of forgive them for that.
Yeah, that was my favorite episode still.
What I also want to just say, like from a writing perspective, and Jason, you keep harping on about like a lot of things, a lot of decisions you find stupid, but like I do think that, and I think I recall this being our favorite aspect of the first season. If not, it was definitely my favorite aspect of the first season, was all the pre-war stuff and seeing a pre-war Cooper Howard kind of going through and finding out more things about Vault Tech. Though I do also find that to have very big pitfalls in a lot of the
Yes.
implications that it
It
brings
it
with it.
was it was the best part until the end. And
And I think that's maybe where we can start this conversation as well, like in
yeah.
terms of actually talking about this season, the things that happen and the things to come. Um,
Can I just say one more quick thing on my like overall thoughts?
no, no, absolutely not. Yeah, go ahead.
I think another reason why I don't enjoy this season as much as I did the first one is because this season just felt like a giant setup rather than conclusive, which is fine. Like, it doesn't bother me too much, but I think most of the time I was just trying to like figure out, the
It
puzzle
absolutely
pieces that
was.
they're trying
Yeah.
to build. And that just kind of left me at the end feeling like, oh, okay, guess gotta wait for all this to go down. It just felt like a build up essentially to nothing, even though it's leading to something, but it felt like nothing in that moment.
I mean,
Um,
it basically ended with
Somehow the
it was
Enclave returned,
well.
yeah.
which is
there's
Fallout
there's
Fallout
there's
the Fallout fans already hate Bethesda for constantly bringing back the Enclave, and this just pissed them off even more.
Well, there's that, but there's also the sorry, sorry, Cooper, but your family's in another castle. That whole, thought he was finally gonna find them, and we now know where we're headed next season, which is a
Right.
completely unknown territory. But we'll get to
Cooper
that.
Yeah, and Cooper has
Yeah.
suffered Star Wars most important man in the galaxy syndrome. He's the most important man in the wasteland syndrome.
Mm.
Everything
Yeah,
revolves around Cooper somehow, magically.
yeah, yeah. I
And he
guess
has
that's kind
and
of
and
true.
and he has the ultimate plot armor, which they introduced, which is apparently ghouls can now regenerate.
Um. Yeah, what you're referring to him getting impaled
Impaled.
on that
Oh,
big
he can.
pole. And
Yeah, they set this up in season one. The ghouls that it's lore. It's now canon that it was always canon that radiation could heal them, but now they just full on regenerate. Yeah,
yeah, it's like
like Wolverine.
radiation be
Yeah,
damned,
like
they just
Wolverine.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that, but I guess yeah, let's open up talking about the pre-war events and stuff. What did you guys? I arbitrarily put this as the first bullet point in the notes, but what did you guys think about this whole? Well, it's kind of tricky to talk about this one without also talking about it in present day. So this whole thing about Steph, the new overseer of Vault 33, being Canadian, actually hating Americans, and kind of inching her way into or edging her way into Vault Tech by means of seemingly marrying Hank in pre-war times. Um, I don't know. How did you guys feel about that whole thing?
Um, I think it's kind of funny that she's technically Lucy's stepmom.
Yeah,
At
well,
this
I
point.
mean, well, yeah, I guess she wouldn't be Lucy's mom. She would be her stepmom. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I also think it's weird. I mean, we can jump forward in time to present day. I think it's a little weird that we get this flashback of her being Canadian, killing someone at Border Patrol in order to enter the country and get away scot-free, and kind of sneaking her way into Vault Tech. So it makes it a little strange. I mean, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the Enclave is largely like remnants of the U.S. government, correct? And they're trying to
Yeah, the Enclave in the
basically
original
a
games.
governmental secret society.
No.
No,
So
okay.
so it was not like the Enclave is like the last gasp of the old pre-world order.
Okay.
In Fallout 1, in the original Fallout games, the Black Isle ones, they were
Hmm.
basically just the last gasp of the old world order, and when you beat them, they go away. They really are only present in modern Fallout games because Bethesda had no better idea than to bring the Enclave back in Fallout 3.
Uh-huh. Well,
Which
in a
really makes no
way,
sense because they were dying out already when you faced them originally in Fallout 2.
but at the same time, like, I mean, we don't have to hash writing decisions in a video game that we're not talking about today. But like with Fallout 3 taking place in DC, the capital of this country, and ultimately the main location of the US government, I guess it kind of makes sense to bring back in some ways it can make sense to bring back a faction that is so heavily
It's
rooted in the US government.
it's also a little
Um
more complicated because you have to keep in mind like the Brotherhood of Steel are a splinter faction of the original U.S. military leadership
mhm,
that they splintered, disobeyed commands and went off and started their own thing, their own kind of semi-theological or technocratic organization.
mhm,
Um, so there are a lot of elements of the Fallout world that are part of the old order. The Enclave is like members of the top leadership cast, scientists, intellectual elites, but it's really a last gasp of people who are clinging to the pre-war world. It's not like they set this all up premeditated, knowing that there was going to be a nuclear apocalypse as it's depicted in
well,
the show.
yeah, I mean, the show is kind of that's definitely something I guess you could argue is being, I don't know, retconned is the right word because I don't know how much they kind of said or didn't say
Completely
definitively.
retconned,
Okay,
completely.
well,
This whole
regardless,
this is why I say the old world stuff is the pre-war stuff is the best stuff until the end. With season one is because when it's revealed that Vault Tech has planned to nuke the world because they're super capitalists and they're going to get
well,
rich through
but
capitalism by
but
destroying
even that,
capitalism.
but Jason, even that is kind of walked back this season. Apparently, that wasn't actually or necessarily, as we still don't really know yet, the case, right? We've kind of find out Barb when Cooper confronts his wife Barb about the things that he's learned, the things that he's heard her say. Apparently, that suggestion to her, or that suggestion made by her, was made to her to make by
Yeah,
what's his name, Wilzig, Benjamin Linus from Lost, the scientist for the Enclave. Apparently he's the one that told her to say that. He's the one that's kind of, and that kind of is insinuating that in some capacity pre-war, back in that time, the Enclave was already a thing. It was already in existence,
which it
and they
was
were
not.
already
Yeah,
pulling strings. Yeah, well, I mean, it is now, right?
yeah. I mean, I
Like,
guess.
it is what it is.
But
So yeah,
it's the
like,
same way that it was. We never knew exactly who started it, but it was always implied that the Chinese dropped the first bomb, and now it's
well, I
been
feel
turned
like it
into a
was
whole other thing.
deliberately, from what I understood, it was deliberately left. It was deliberately
It was
left to
deliberately left. Yes.
interpretation.
Yes. It
Like
was implied that the Chinese dropped the first bomb, but it was never explicitly said on purpose. Yes.
and there were some hints in places that like maybe it wasn't them. Maybe they really was started by Voltec. Season 1 kind of started to be like, yeah, guess what? It was Voltec. And now this season is kind of making it a little more obtuse again. Which I think is good. Like, walk that back. Let's have some ambiguity, because answering that question, which has been a question for over 2 or 3 decades, yeah, don't answer that question. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that adds so much to the conversation to leave it up to interpretation, to leave it up to theorizing and theory crafting. If this season is taking the step back to walk that answer back, like, yeah, I'm all for that. I don't know how I feel though about the Enclave being a secret. Like, I brought up a secret government society somewhat erroneously or somewhat incorrectly, because that's kind of what the show is now implying, that the
Yeah.
Enclave really did exist pre-war. The president was even in on it, friggin' Mr. Krabs.
Yes.
Um, um,
I always think of him
and
as the drill sergeant. Drill sergeant is Shrek from Starship Troopers.
uh, and seemingly the what's her name? Diane something, Diana something. What the hell is her name?
Welsh.
Yeah. The congresswoman who facilitates the meeting between Cooper and the president. Seemingly, like, maybe she's part of the Enclave,
Oh,
which
the
makes
one who doesn't take any donation, any contributions. Not on the nose.
yeah. Well, anyway, what I wanted to get to about Steph specifically is that I do find it a little strange. And again, this is probably stuff that just needs to be expounded upon in season 3. As they've kind of done a lot of setup even in season 1 to get paid off here, and now season 2 to get paid off in season 3. Steph being a Canadian and very hateful toward Americans, because in the Fallout, in this
The United States
Fallout
conquered Canada.
canon,
Yes.
the United States conquered Canada, and she's and she is a survivor, and kind of is in hiding as a Canadian in America, and I guess finds her way into Vault-Tec. But seemingly she has some ties and or loyalties toward the Enclave, which is this secret government cabal of the United States government. So it's like, why do you have loyalties? Why do you want to continue the Enclave's experiment there into phase 2, as the season kind of ends with, in that plot line, continuing the Enclave's work on whatever experiments going on in the Vault 31, 32, 33 thing? Like, that's something I just don't really understand or drive with much.
Yeah.
It's a pretty drastic shift for the character given her history.
Yeah, and they also, I guess this was kind of like one of the Marvel moments that Jason brought up, is they try to make it seem like when her mom died and she was like, "Oh, just survive," that this is what drove her to kind of climb the ranks and, you know, in the position that she's in now. Um, and but I don't know if she's doing this for her own reasons, or if it's because her mom said so. And if it's because her mom said so,
Don't
like, I don't know, that's kind of
don't
lame,
treat
I
them
think.
like humans. Treat them like Americans. Oh my god, the writing in this show.
I mean,
It-
that part I don't really care about. The thing that just doesn't make sense to me is her working for or having loyalties toward the Enclave, unless it's all some sort of ruse to destroy even post-war America. I don't
It's
So
know.
hard
that's
to
what I'm
it's
hoping.
hard to tell given how many plot holes are in this, and I'm not going to waste time going into each and every one. I'm going to try to keep this as focused to the main points that you're touching on, because there's so many. But it's hard to tell where the writers genuinely fucked up and where, like Delilah said, this is all just a setup season.
Yeah.
I do hope that Stephanie has like some plan against the Enclave rather than just being loyal, because you're right, that wouldn't make much sense.
I think I think it, like, it just, yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. but yeah, we'll see. I mean, clearly she's kind of a sneaky character, right? She's got her own
So
motivations.
manipulative.
Yeah, exactly. She's very manipulative. So it very well could be that this is all a ruse for her to destroy it all. It's the remnants of the U.S. government that largely tore her country apart. So it really all could be a ploy to get back at them, even if it's like over 200 years later. Um,
Or it just could have to do with events that will unfold in the pre-war,
True.
when we see more
Yeah.
pre-war stuff in season 3, because I think the showrunners know that Walton Goggins largely carries this fucking show. So the more pre-war shit they can have in there, even though make much sense, the better.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, let's go on to other pre-war plot lines or moments, and I guess like we'll end with Cooper, but the other big aspect is bringing back Robert House, and largely in both pre-war and the present day, as we will get to with present day. But in pre-war, he's got these mind control devices, and he wants to give them in exchange for cold fusion, and that's kind of where cold fusion comes back into play. um and I know Robert House is a really beloved character from New Vegas, so I mean, I guess we can talk a little bit about the present day Robert House in tandem with this, but cold fusion is seemingly something that he can use to preserve himself indefinitely, and kind of achieve this longstanding goal of immortality. How much of that is present in New Vegas?
So, just very briefly, in the show, Robert House is depicted kind of as rich man bad. He's super rich and super evil, and that's about it. In the games, Robert House is actually an extremely complex figure. He's very much like an ultra libertarian. His view is to take over New Vegas, so that specifically to set it up as like this libertarian paradise that will flourish and resume progress like it was before the war. Like his background is that he was actually cheated out of his family fortune. His brother squandered it all, and he had to fucking re-earn it himself. Like he fucking earned his wealth because of how fucking smart he is. Um,
Can't
Not
really
to say
say
that
that
he's
about
not,
many rich people today.
yeah, not to say that he's not a character beyond doing like morally scrupulous things. It's only to say that he's a complex character. Uh, Clearly, aside from maybe Kaisar, which we'll get to, the most intelligent of the leaders in New Vegas. And in terms of, yes, in the show they don't have his body. In the game, his body is still existing, but it's tied up to all these machines and shit. And you can technically go down and open up his body and kill him by killing his actual body.
Right.
But generally, you only see him through the screens, like in the show.
Hmm.
He actually takes a lot of pride in not being a computer and still having his own physical body in the game. But yes, a very smart, very enigmatic, very charismatic character, beloved, like you said, that this show just fucking does not understand or doesn't trust the audience to understand if they actually depicted him correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that him using these mind control devices in pre-war, we
The
can
mind
talk
control
about.
device is completely him being with this mind control device is antithetical to his philosophical outlook in the game. Like I just said, he's a fucking uber libertarian.
Well, you could argue that you could probably argue that he only made those because he knew they would be desirable, right? Like it's not like he made them because he planned to use them for his own ends, for his own or outside of negotiating trading them for cold fusion, which I think this is ultimately what the
Sure, I
show
guess if you
tries
want
to
to be kind, yeah.
establish. I think that's what the show kind of tries to establish. You see him testing this device like in public with like the in the bar with those thugs and stuff, like I guess trying to test it, get it right so that he could use it as a meaningful bargaining chip. I just find this whole thing a little contrived, considering that he appeared in New Vegas. And every time I say New Vegas, by the way, unless the context begets the location, I'm talking about the video game. In New Vegas, he seems to already have pre-established motivations and a very, very core place in that plot. And this show tries to expand on him by just like introducing all these new aspects and trying to tie them together into a character that we already had like a decent amount of understanding and history surrounding. So, and that kind of just it kind of just rings a little hollow and feels a little icky, right? They're trying to take this character and add so much more onto him that didn't really need to be there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about Cold Fusion and him wanting it to achieve this immortality. Like for
They
all
they
if
really
you
should have just
hadn't
dropped the whole Cold Fusion thing for the
if
second
you
season.
if you hadn't had that, like you could still look at Robert House in New Vegas having achieved his goal, right? Like if he had his body hidden and was hooked up to all these things, was somehow being preserved, like you could just assume that he would have found a way in that in that setting to live forever. And
Well,
this show tries to
he needed the platinum chip, which is another thing like the Battle of
under
Hoover Dam that does not get mentioned at
right.
all here.
Right. And what I'm saying though is like from again, not having played New Vegas, but after having done what research I've done, what reading I've done, and what discussions I've had with friends and stuff. Like you could have just assumed that like in one of the endings, he achieved a goal of living forever, and this show kind of brings that up as like no, that's a central motivation. We're establishing it, and this is how it's getting accomplished and brings in all these new things or all these new MacGuffins. And I did check on like was Cold Fusion ever mentioned in like Fallout canon previously? The answer is yes. Technically, there's a
Yes.
note in Fallout 4 that mentions it and mentions it very much in passing, like it was never achieved. And that's
Yes.
it. Like that's all I could find. In any substantial capacity. So it's like this really was something that felt invented for this show to bring back this character ultimately and try to give him a new motivation, even though they had already established his motivations in a previous piece of canon. And that just kind of feels like they really want to expand on things that just had no business expanding on. And I I don't really care. I don't love Fallout that much. I don't really have that much of an attachment to it. But I wouldn't fault anyone for being kind of annoyed or disappointed or mad about that, especially given how beloved New Vegas is, you know?
Yeah. I
Delilah, yeah,
wonder.
where do you fall on all
Oh,
this?
I mean, I agree with what you said. You know, the cold fusion feels like a MacGuffin. I don't hate it. Like again, it's not bothering me nearly as much. I do remember it being having more of a presence in Fallout 4, although I couldn't tell you because it's been so long since I played it. But I guess it was just a
Fallout
note.
4 had a shit ton. You had to collect the fusion cells for the power armor, which was a whole thing that pissed fans off because if you just have that many fusion cells fucking lying around post-apocalypse, that's so much fucking energy. Why is it still in the
Right.
post-apocalypse?
So
Yeah.
on just so I can like double back and keep myself honest on this, like Cold Fusion, if you look at the on the Fallout fandom wiki and look at the references that they're using to write this article, everything is pretty much specific to the Fallout TV show, except for one reference that is a note in Fallout 4 that says, and I'll just read this out real quick. Cold fusion proposal: divert time slash materials from current phase 3 research to exploring the possibility of sustainable nuclear reactions through electrochemical processes at or near room temperatures. Pre-war work on the subject yielded no concrete results. Advances in technology could potentially make it possible. Approval rejected. Notes: evidence suggests this is and always will be a pipe dream. And then also
Mm.
going into things about like miniaturization, plasma weaponry, and et cetera, et cetera. It 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 doesn't seem like it was a very big thing. It seems like it
It
was
was
just
not.
in a note in passing, uh, in Fallout 4 specifically, and that's kind of it. Which just tells me I mean, you got to give them at least a little bit of credit. They did go and look in a note somewhere in a game to pull
Yeah.
something and make a plot surrounding it.
Because keep in mind,
I'll give them that, you know.
the thing that pisses fans off about Cold Fusion, keep in mind, Cold Fusion means an end to resource scarcity, which is the
Right.
fundamental crux of all human conflict, which again is the fundamental theme of the entire fucking series. War never
Well,
changes. It really means human nature never changes,
I think
even in the post-apocalypse.
it could make for a compelling plot line, right? Like something that could ostensibly progress humanity and society back to how it used to be before the war, before the current state, right? That could make for a compelling plot line for sure. I just don't love that it feels like a MacGuffin. I felt like it was pretty inconclusive as to what it mattered in season one, other than to move the characters along. And in this season, it ultimately seemed to come back to Robert House just wanting to live forever. And I don't feel like we really needed that. I felt like from what I can tell, it seems like we could have just come to that conclusion at the end of New Vegas anyway, depending on the ending you got.
And Robert House also genuinely wanted to save humanity. Like, yes, he wanted to live forever, and he was an uber libertarian, but like I said, it's more complex than that. Like, he genuinely was seeking to save humanity. His ending, if you choose to help him with his ending, obviously there's other choices, other factions, but
right. So do you think
it's just something that's not depicted in the show at
in
all?
the show they're just kind of painting him as a bad guy that just wants to be immortal? Because like I tried to interpret it as like he just likes to create things and use his intelligence to like experiment, and this is like maybe the peak of experimentation for him, and I find that more interesting than immortality for some reason. But I don't know if that's just me like injecting my own hope into that character. Because like he created the other robots, right? Like what were they called?
The Securitrons, yeah. Because in the game, that's how in the games that's how he's seeking to control New Vegas, using Securitron robots.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that's also how he manages to come back from a coma. Is that accurate or?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Securitrons are kind of how he also uses
how he interfaces with the outside world.
Yes. That's how like the player character is saved in the beginning of the game by a Securitron at Robert House's behest, because the courier is carrying platinum chip,
right,
or was at least
right until Matthew Perry stole it back.
Yes.
May he rest in peace. Okay, so yeah, I mean that's kind of my broad thoughts on Robert House. I mean, I think Justin Theroux does a good job at looking like the character, and I guess at least like it's a good performance. But
oh yeah, sure.
I do think this begs the question though, because Jason, you brought up that his actual body is being preserved. It's actually hooked up to all these computers and stuff. But the existence that not we speak to, we're not the player is not in the show because it's a show. The house that Cooper winds up talking to only appears after the cold fusion thing is inserted into the computer, seemingly powering him on. Do you guys think he's still quote unquote alive? Do you think his body is still living, or do you think that this is an entirely like artificial intelligence preserving his mind?
Didn't he explicitly say that he's completely digital in the show?
I don't recall. I guess if I had remembered that, I wouldn't be asking this question. But from what I could tell, it does seem to be a big topic of debate now. In the wake of the finale,
hearing people
like
pissed that it was retcon to that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, is it retconned? It seems like it might be like
that's
intentionally ambiguous, so that any of the endings could still fit. Whether
maybe
you kill him or whether you don't kill him, they're leaving it vague as to whether or not his body's still alive, or if he is dead and now he's just preserved as an artificial intelligence.
Well, if his body isn't alive, then he really has no chance of being like fought against in any kind of way, because he could just go wherever, right? Like his data. So then, I don't know. It would be he's just gonna win. Whatever he wants to do, he's gonna get it.
He definitely doth protest at Cooper dropping the Pip-Boy that he was on. He definitely didn't want that, but
Yeah.
I think this might.
Sorry.
No, go
real
ahead. Go
quick.
ahead.
I
No, go
think
ahead.
that was just a way to show Cooper's like resolve more so than um
Yeah, no, I know.
him being upset. You know, I think it was more
Yeah.
for Cooper than anything that they did that.
Oh, I know.
I put the Pip Boy away.
I'm
I'm good
I'm
now. I
being
don't need
somewhat
it.
I'm being somewhat facetious, but
Yeah.
I do think, yeah, I do think that I hope that we don't get a definitive answer on that, right? I hope that they don't answer that question. If he is he alive, is he dead, and just an AI now, like, because that would be a method of them skirting around canon for New Vegas,
I
right? That
feel
would
like
be a
they're going
way
to
of
have
them.
to in any season 3 because as has been alluded to multiple times, this was all setting up like another season. And the ending of this season basically
Yeah, but
sets
if
up all the
it's
factions of New Vegas for an actual conflict, which
well, yes, but at the same time, we're going to Colorado, baby. We don't have to stay in New Vegas. Let them hash it out, and
well,
you'll sit there and wonder what happened after the fact later.
my understanding is that Cooper is going to Colorado, but apparently the other characters are staying in New Vegas, according
Well,
to
no. Let's face it.
external
Everyone's going to
interviews.
Colorado. Like
Maybe, I don't know.
I feel like the show lives and dies on Cooper for sure. But it also lives and dies on Cooper's interactions with the other cast. So if the other cast is just not with him in any capacity, I don't think the show is realistically going to work. Um, I think we can uh start talking about Cooper and moving more toward some of the present day, as it were, events. Cooper in the past, Moldaver, whatever her name is in the past, it's not Moldaver, it's something else. Uh gives him the proposition to kill House, and he ultimately doesn't do that, but he does obtain cold fusion, and that's
Just
given to
went
the
out.
president, and then he's arrested, and Robert House contacts him to be like, hey, whatever's about to happen, it wasn't me.
Can I just point
Uh,
out how fucking hard I laughed when she asked him, "All right, you got to kill whatever, I kill House or the president, whoever." She asked him, "Fuck it," um, and he's like, "What makes you think I can do that?" And Moldaver's like, "You fought in the war," as if anybody who fights in a fucking war can be a super assassin and just take out fucking the head of some super corporate billion or the president of the United States or whatever the fuck. Like, oh
yeah.
god, this show is so fucking stupid. I'm sorry.
Oh, I guess another thing to bring up is the pre-war death claw, which I know had a lot of people
Oh my
talking.
god.
They
Yes.
nerfed the death claws in this show.
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, we're in a podcast,
The
buddy. We gotta talk
freaking
about
the
it.
roaches were more devastating than the
Oh,
damn death
you mean
Yeah,
the
claws.
roaches?
I thought
The
that was
roaches that just convenently all went by the main character that needs to stay alive and went
all
towards
right. Yeah,
all the
we'll
red shirt
talk.
characters.
We'll talk about Norm's plot armor when we get to Norm, okay? That was pretty fucking insane. But um yeah, the pre-war death claw, I think I had to look that up because I was like, why would there be a death? Apparently there were experiments happening pre-war, I guess, with the Enclave. This is heavily discussed somewhere, and maybe Fallout 2 is my understanding. Didn't know that, was definitely taken aback by how is that even possible, and seemingly it is very possible within the canon of Fallout. So, like, whatever, I'm not gonna deliberate on that. I did think the scene was cool. I did think it was a pretty cool scene,
Yeah, it was fun.
but yeah.
Action.
While I did not like the Death Claws part of it, I did like that sequence generally. Just getting to see the fighting in Alaska. For those who don't know, in the Fallout canon, the nuclear exchange begins at a point in time where China and the United States are fighting over Canada, or I'm sorry, Alaska. Um, so it is cool to see that.
It's basically Canada, am I right?
I
I'm
guess.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's basically Russia. We bought it from Russia,
Yeah.
but anywho, yeah, that sequence is just cool visually. I guess to see that pre-war image of something that is technically canon, even if the Deathclaw stuff is yeah.
This is a quick aside. I do wonder if we have any Alaskan listeners. I kind of doubt it, but that would be really funny. I don't mean to. I don't mean to besmirk your state, my fellow Alaskans, my fellow Americans. Um. Anyway, back to this silly episode. Um, yeah, I thought that I did think the scene was cool. And I think it was also interesting. They talk we get a lot of things about like flaws in the power armor, and in pre-war they're discussing how it cost lives that the power armor was I guess not fully developed, or the kinks weren't worked out, and kind of what Cooper had to fight through and deal with during the war. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. This is probably one of the, I mean, this is the biggest, like, you know, we're setting things up for the future moment in pre-war, in the pre-war setting. Cooper getting arrested, and
Yeah.
obviously that has a lot to do with or at least I think it's obvious that has a lot to do with the Enclave. He turned over the one thing that the Enclave wanted, and now they no longer need him and can just put him away, especially when he has ties to Vault Tech, when he has ties to um Robert House and Robco and all that. Like, you know, he gave them what they wanted, and now he's a liability. So we'll see
Get
how
out
that pays off.
of jail. I don't know if I
Yeah.
missed it, or there were just so many things about Cooper that
You didn't miss it. That it was all set up, as you said in the beginning.
Well, yeah, because we're like the first scene in season 1 was like when the bombs dropped, and he was at a birthday party with his
Yeah.
daughter. So like we know he does get out. We don't know how he gets to that situation. We
Well,
definitely learned like he's had some sort of fall from grace, and I want to say that him and his wife are semi separated, or maybe completely divorced at that point. I'm not 100%
well,
sure.
based on what we learned here in this season, that whole sequence that the show starts on doesn't even make sense now. His daughter would have had to have been in a vault already, or
Well,
near a
we don't
vault.
know that. We don't know that. Like that, I think that's the biggest question, right? Like, how do you get from where we're at now to that starting point where
Right.
yeah, that's a question like that has not been paid off yet. We still don't know the answer to that now. So as long as they pay it off, as long as they answer that, because that's a pretty big like gap in one point to the next, or to the last, yeah, we definitely need to find that out at some point. Um, Especially because at the point that we're at in the pre-war story, Cooper and Barb almost seem like they're united against a common threat. So
Yes.
it kind of doesn't feel like that in that opening scene of the series.
Yeah, it goes from the end of last season where like he finds out what's really going on and like is shocked, and we see some tension between him and his wife, and ultimately it ends up with the reveal where they come together and are working together. But
And he takes the
over,
fall for her. He
yeah,
takes the fall for the cold fusion being stolen or taken.
but the problem is that we opened the show in season 1 with these questions about pre-war, and the pre-war storyline has only really opened more questions than answered any. And you
Yeah.
can't just keep doing that season after season. You kind of
yeah.
got to
Well,
answer at least, yeah, even if the answer is vague, like
in a way, you can as
without
in a
getting into any specifics, like to reference Breaking Bad, gray matter. We get a vague answer in season 1. We learn more as the show goes on, but you still get some sort of answer that is satisfactory for the time being.
I mean, I don't think that what happened with Gray Matter and Walter White's backstory is quite as important
No, no,
as
I'm
what's
just
going
using it
on
as
in
an
the show.
example. You can't just have
I
no
know.
answers for like multiple seasons, because then you end up like Delilah just said, where she thinks she's missing.
Jason's trying to bait me. He's trying to get me to talk about a show that him and I would way rather talk about than this one.
Wow.
True, I
If you
mean,
haven't watched
but
if you haven't watched Breaking Bad, by all means, fucking stop listening to
I
this and
was
go watch Breaking
I
Bad.
was more
Anyway,
I was more trying
I
to use it
know.
as as an example of how to do long form mysteries in serial format correctly,
I
versus
know.
here
I
where
know.
like Delilah just thinks she's missing something, which she's not. It's the show is
I
creating more questions than it's answering.
I think, look, it's still an ongoing show. It's still developing where it's going. So I think it's overall fine for now, as long as it does get answered and paid off at some point. Like,
Yeah.
they need to connect the dots. They need to bring that storyline to its logical conclusion, which is how the series started. And if it doesn't do that, then yes, it failed. But it still has a season 3 to go. Who knows how much longer it'll go? As long as they get to that point where that is explained how he got to that stage, then it's fine. We'll cross that bridge if and when we get to it, you know?
I hope that they don't do with his daughter what Fallout 4 did with one of the endings.
I don't even
It's
I
not
don't
one
even
of the
know.
endings. It is.
Oh, the main ending, right?
It's every ending. It's the same. I mean, what became of the child is the same in all the endings, but what happens to the child in the ending differs between endings.
Yeah. I feel like they're going that direction, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, we shall see.
I feel like that's like the thesis of this is we'll see what happens because
We'll
there's so
see.
many different threads that are.
It's
I think I understand what you're getting at in that when he finds the daughter, you're guessing she's probably going to be like fully grown up, if not like a fully
well,
transformed into another character type deal.
Yeah. Like
yeah.
probably maybe aligned with the Enclave in some way.
Yeah, yeah.
I know I do find it kind of interesting how much it feels like this show feels it needs to either bring back like plot points from other Fallout games in order to connect it into the canon, or or even worse, regurgitating plot points. Because yeah, like I think that I feel like that's what a lot of people are assuming about Cooper's family when he finally finds Barb and Janie, is that Barb is going to be either old or dead, and Janie's going to be an adult, which is basically just
Fallout
what
4.
happens with Fallout 4, right?
Yeah.
Um, the Vault 33 having a water shortage. It's not quite the same, but like Fallout 1's plot starts because there's a malfunction with the water chip.
To be fair,
Um,
that's kind of a very generic post-apocalyptic thing that
yeah, I agree, but at the same time, it's not the only instance of this show feeling like it needs to regurgitate certain plot elements, and we'll talk about another one at the very end. I think it'll
Oh
be the
yeah.
last thing we'll probably talk about.
well, yeah, somehow
W-
the Enclave returned, yeah.
all right, well, then not that, that's something else, but. I think, is there anything else pre-war specifically you guys want to talk about? Otherwise, we can start talking about a lot more of the present day stuff, especially with our main trio.
I mean, I think once more, as stupid as it gets, it's probably the best part of the show, where it's the only part where I wasn't completely checked out.
Hmm.
The pre-war stuff you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's weird because I don't like that they're feeling the need to go back and explain like
Oh,
how things led to
yes.
the bombs
How
dropping or
Cooper
something.
became the most important man in the wasteland. Yeah.
But at
No,
the
Mhm.
same time, I
they
don't know.
need to
I think
spend
maybe it's
they need to spend all of that time fleshing out the factions and their nuanced, complicated views of the world and where they're right and where they're wrong, why they're in
yeah,
conflict and how they're in conflict, but it's just not, happening.
yeah, well. Um yeah, so I mean I think Lucy's arc through this season was pretty good. All things considered. Um I think in largely, I mean, it's so funny. I feel like Maximus was like the least important character in season 1, and somehow he feels even less important this season, even though he like
No,
accidentally incites a civil war
yeah,
among the
no,
Brotherhood of Steel.
I heard like a pretty prominent Fallout YouTuber Kratos put it. He basically failed upward all the way to the top. He is
Yeah.
at the center
And
of
like
everything, and he just keeps failing his way into the center of everything.
But at least I like him. All right, so I guess we're going to talk about Maximus instead of Lucy. We'll get to Lucy, but we'll get Maximus just out of the way because he hardly interacts with any of the cast this season. Um, but I like him better in this season than I did the first. I didn't love his kind of like the fact I didn't like his naivete in the first season, how he kind of just felt like a bumbling child. Um, and like well, a lot could be
Yes.
said about just like some of his interactions with Lucy in the first season, and like this season was
Oh yeah.
completely had like none of that until the very end of the season. um but like he just I like his like kind of stoic cynicism in this season, how like you said, failing upwards, and now he's in this position that like where he's in this position of almost leadership among his brotherhood chapter, and yet he seems like he's really starting to question anything and everything that the brotherhood does, whether or not it's actually good for society, whether it's actually good morally. And like that's the core of his storyline this season, obviously coming to a head where he kills Kumail Nanjiani for almost killing children. um which was like just a very, it was a very cartoonish moment, but it was entertaining. I gotta admit.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
Um,
yeah, the
another
whole
example where you see dialogue choice.
yeah,
yeah.
and the entirety of the Brotherhood is depicted as like this like semi-fraternity when in reality it's a technocratic semi-theological order of men who seek to hold technology to prevent mankind from destroying itself like it almost did in the apocalypse. And it's a fairly isolationist movement that is a splinter faction of the original US military. And like, it's just idiots. Idiots in
Well, I
power
think,
armor doing stupid shit the entire
and
fucking season.
what I'm trying to understand is like, because obviously the Brotherhood isn't just like this group. It's a lot of groups all over the
There are
country.
there are there are different chapters. It's kind of like Space Marines
Right.
and
Right.
in
And
40K.
what I'm trying to understand is like they have rules, they have laws amongst themselves. You have this chapter, and I guess the way we're supposed to take this is that this chapter is so isolated and splintered off from the Brotherhood of Steel as a whole, that like even though there's this rule that they don't harm other brothers, they just fully allow this one big ass like buff dude to almost kill Maximus, and they have this basically fight to the death over fucking nothing, and no
Yeah.
one either questions it, no one tries to stop it, and in fact they pretty much egg and cheer it on the whole time. And what's the point of that? It
What's the
just
point of
doesn't
the guys
really.
just standing there playing with plasma grenades and Maximus has to
I
take
mean,
it
I
away
thought
from
that
them?
was I thought that was kind of funny, but like at the
But
same
it
time, it does show that a lot of them are just really dumb. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I know.
when it's also a semi-scholastic order that you see in the games. Like these aren't just fucking soldiers, like dumb grunts. These guys are raised having to read through all this old world shit and understand these
I mean,
technologies.
and
Like, and
season
the,
one depicted them in school, basically. Yeah,
yeah.
it makes sense.
And
Um,
meanwhile, like some of the dialogue of what's his name, who comes from the Commonwealth chapter that Maximus kills.
I
You
think it's
mentioned him.
Xavier.
No, you mentioned the actor. But
Kumail Nanjiani. I think his name
yeah,
is Xavier though in the
but his
show.
dialogue is so fucking cringe and just not what you would expect of a paladin in Fallout.
I
I
mean,
don't.
it just.
That's the thing is I don't feel like any of the characters within the Brotherhood of Steel felt like a paladin at all. They all were, like you said, fraternity, like very silly. Um, Whereas from the games, from what I remember, they were very like by the code, and I
Yeah,
didn't expect Maximus to be that way. I mean, there's other games that like you had a Brotherhood of Steel kind of not be what's expected, and that was interesting. But I feel like almost virtually none of the characters seem to have that like code of ethics.
it's also worth noting, going back to the canon aspect, that in Fallout New Vegas, the game, the Brotherhood of Steel chapter in New the Mojave Wasteland is basically on the verge of extinction. Like it's almost done, faded away. The Brotherhood of
Mm.
Steel is largely faded away in the West at that point in time. It's really only in the Bethesda games that take place on the East Coast where the Brotherhood still exists in any meaningful way. Um, which kind of like this throws a whole wrench in that. Apparently
Yeah.
now the Commonwealth chapter, so the Commonwealth chapter is apparently like the lead chapter now.
Well, also
And
keep in
and
mind that
there are like
like
5 or 6 fucking different Pridwins when the Pridwin took a shit ton of resources and decades to construct. Like, it's just, I don't know.
also keep in mind that like this season takes place in New Vegas, but largely all of these characters hail from and came from
The Commonwealth, yeah.
from California. So like in the like from season 1, it
Oh,
largely
you're
took
talking.
place in California.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I'm
right,
talking
right,
about this
right.
chapter of the Brotherhood. I'm talking
Yeah,
about the vault, the vaults and everything. They all came from California. So like the Brotherhood of Steel chapter that it would have theoretically at some point existed in New Vegas, like is still ostensibly extinct. But they weren't even um they weren't even in New Vegas for much of that for much of those events, right? Because Area
no, they're
51 isn't
hiding.
in the Vegas area.
They're hiding in they're hiding in a bunker throughout
Well,
pretty much everything, right?
it's
Yeah,
Area
yeah.
51. It's an Area 51 bunker.
Yes,
Like
yes.
which is in this is gonna make me feel really stupid if I'm wrong. New Mexico, right? Is
Yes,
Area
yes,
51 in New Mexico? Am I making
yes.
that up? Am I crazy? Am I stupid? Let me just make sure that let me keep
No, no, no.
myself honest on that.
I believe you're right.
No, I'm a fucking idiot. It's in southern Nevada. Okay. I
Okay,
thought
so
it
I'm
was
a
in New
fucking idiot
Mexico.
too.
We're all fucking idiots here. Okay, so that is closer
Whatever.
to Vegas than I
It
thought.
doesn't really matter. It's in the Mojave Wasteland Circuit
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
Moon.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I guess this is what this is ultimately
yeah.
establishing. Okay. So
But the point,
yeah.
the only point I was seeking to make was that the Brotherhood is like a couple dozen people isolated in a fucking bunker, and
Yeah, but
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that like yeah, I just wanted to kind of correct you on that a little bit, right? Because the New Vegas chapter of the Brotherhood could still be extinct. They didn't come from New Vegas or the Mojave Wasteland. They came from California. So they're just kind of migrating east, I guess you could say. Slowly but surely.
It also just raises questions as to what is the fucking philosophical ideological motivation for anything going on
Well,
entire.
that's why I bring up like I don't know if the implication is to bring up just how splintered this chapter is, considering like Quintus openly wants to seemingly have war against the rest of the Brotherhood and be like the head of the Brotherhood. And so is that why they're all bumbling idiots? Is that why they don't really follow the code closely? Why they just allow Maximus and this other big dude to have a big fight where one of them dies and they just egg it on? Like maybe that's what that's all trying to imply. I don't really know. It's not like, I don't, it's not very clear, but it's also not very uh subtle, and it's kind of in this middle ground where I don't know that the writing is on par with what it's trying to convey.
Mm.
If that's indeed what it's trying to convey, it's just it's a weird situation, and I think it does raise questions about what, yeah, like why did they act this way?
Hmm.
Um, but it doesn't matter. They're now kind of all at war with each other, or they're at war
Yeah,
with the rest of the
it's
Brotherhood.
another example, as is true of most of the storylines in this season, and as Delilah, it's just a lot of wheel spinning and setup.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll get to, or I mean, no, we'll get to it. We'll talk about it later. Let's pivot to Lucy. 'Cause I alluded to this before. Like I really liked kind of the arc they set up between Lucy and Cooper throughout the season. Where I do feel like it had a very good payoff at the end.
Hmm.
She was kind of very not anti-violence necessarily, but just anti-killing. She didn't want to kill anybody. She felt it was morally wrong. She had her convictions in that. Like Cooper in the first episode, like chastises her for only shooting people in the ass because it's not really helpful to him if like he's in danger and no one dies. Um, and that's there's a lot of development between her and Cooper throughout the season where she felt they were finally getting close, finally becoming a team, and she finds out that he was only planning to use her as a bargaining chip, and ultimately he comes and saves her in the same way that she she would always fight by shooting Hank and in the ass, not killing him, just maiming him a little bit. I feel like that was a really good payoff. I feel like that was a really good conclusion to that arc, and it was kind of an interesting arc for her to go throughout the season. What do you guys think about Lucy this season, I guess?
Yeah, I liked her story threads. I feel her kind of, it's like when you go in to play a game, I don't know if you guys do this, but when I play like games with decision trees, I'm always like, okay, I'm gonna be the good guy, right? Either I'm gonna be the good guy or the bad guy. Like I'm gonna choose everything that like destroys, or I'm gonna choose everything that like kind of doesn't kill anyone, right?
Mhm.
I always personally mostly aim to be the good person who's like, okay, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm gonna fill you out, see if I could talk myself out of this situation rather than having to like put a bullet in you. And I feel like that was very much so what I saw with Lucy. And then when you get to the like more morally complex decisions and you see it's just not black and white, that's when the game just becomes like really meaty. And I feel like for Lucy's arc, you kind of had that same feeling like, no, girl, like it's not just about, okay, now she's like not a good person. It's that she had to make really difficult decisions. And I kind of really like that they were able to demonstrate that with her character in the show. It was probably the only character where that sort of feeling came up in the games when I had to make decisions. Especially at the end with her dad, but I guess we'll get to that.
Every time I mention her dad, Hank, I'm gonna laugh just because I'm gonna think of the actor in David Lynch's Dune.
Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah, Kyle MacLachlan. Yeah.
It's still so fun. We talked about this last time. It's so funny that's
That's
why
the
you
one
know
David
him.
Lynch.
Like
That's
he's
the
in
one.
so many David Lynch things.
Yeah,
David
I
Lynch
know.
movies, and he's like he's the lead in Twin Peaks, and you fucking know him because he was goddamn Paul
Paul
Atreides
Atreides. Yeah.
in fucking
Father,
Dune.
the sleeper has awoken. Yes, but anyway, I agree that Lucy's story is, at least on paper, the most compelling, and the bones of a good story is there. It's just not executed well and not earned within the context of what is actually shown. They need to spend way more time with those two on screen together, going through adventures together and developing together. Those characters are split up very early and don't interact much until they come back towards the end. Um, so I feel like there was nowhere near enough time spent to get them to earn that payoff at the end, which I agree probably could have been something very good if they had just kept the scales toned down rather than, somehow the Enclave returned again.
Mhm.
Somehow the Enclave has returned.
Again, the show is just wasting a lot of time on a bunch of different or subplots that don't need to exist.
Um, so I don't know that I agree that there isn't enough between the two of them. I mean, because they're split up a couple times, but they're brought back together pretty quickly. And then obviously there's the big split where she punches him through the window, and there's a couple episodes where they don't meet back up. But I feel like the payoff when they do meet back up, what I had outlined before, I don't know, I felt like it was earned. I think it's better than you're giving it credit for. Which is rare praise. I'm not going to sit here and say that this was an amazing season of television. Obviously, we're very much not doing that. I just think that angle, that relationship, that union was a little better than.
I just look at them as a duo, and you're right that they're fantastic foils for one another in terms of one cynical, one being idealistic. The bones are there, and I'll compare it directly with a show that just came out that was fucking universally praised and deserved it. Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which focused around a similar relationship as it did in the book.
Mm.
You needed to have more of them together, having land that was a better show than what we got. As opposed to she splinters off and encounters the Legion, he splinters off and encounters the NCR, and then eventually those two factions are going to somehow come back at the end because we need to introduce those factions because it's New Vegas.
I mean, I won't necessarily disagree with that. In the sense that this season does feel very like it's just trying to do a lot.
Yeah.
And to an extent, I feel like the pacing isn't terrible. I feel like the pacing in this first season was worse than the pacing here. But when I had to write these notes up, I had to remind myself of all the things that happened. And a lot of things happened, but like, I feel like it was all very bottom or back heavy, you know? A lot of
Yes.
the big things happened in the last half of the season, and it felt like everything was just building to that last half of the season, where over the course of several episodes, the big things were happening, and it just felt very drawn out over those episodes. Like Lucy being in the vault with her dad, that lasted multiple episodes and was her just like slowly finding out what her dad is doing, what her dad's experimenting with. And I guess we could jump right into that, where I guess Hank is it kind of felt like the beginning of the season tried to hint that he was trying to finish Robert House's work, and ultimately, I guess
Yeah.
now the implication at the end is that no, he's working with the Enclave. He has loyalties to the Enclave. And Robert House, again, as we discussed before with the pre-war section of this episode, Robert House really was just trying to use those mind control devices in a transaction, right? He made them so that he could use them to get something in return, not so that he could use them for his own means. And in the end, it seems like Hank was using these for the Enclave's benefit, and had ties to the Enclave, just like Steph did, which we'll talk about Steph and how she ended in the season after I guess we talk about Hank. But I don't know that Hank is going to be much of a character in the future.
How can he be?
I know, unless he is now a companion to Lucy and is kind of just not to no pun intended, is just a yes man to Lucy.
Also,
Um
Hank, with Hank going out, he drops another mega. The end of the last season dropped a mega retcon with the revelation of Vault-Tec premeditating and being responsible for the nuclear fallout.
well, again, I
He
feel like
says,
this season walks that back a bit, but go on.
but what he says before he wipes his brain out is that the real Vault-Tec, the vaults were not the real experiment. The real social experiment was what happened outside the vaults, which totally not within the lore at all.
Yeah.
And kind of
Well,
doesn't really make sense when you think about it, but
that's
like a
the
lot of
thing,
things in
right?
this
Is
show.
that's the thing, right? Is we still have we this is that's now a new question to carry forward to the next season of how are they going to make that make sense? Well, what's going to be the answer? Where is this going to go?
I think it might
Eh,
be like not being able to distinguish who's real and who's not, since so many people are gonna have this mind control device. Um, that's only like direction I can see them going, but I guess we'll have to see.
it
Yeah.
feels very disparate because this entire it was prevalent, or it was there in the first season, but it's even more prevalent season. The writers are very clearly trying to have some through line of criticism of capitalism, which both Tim Kaine and Chris Avallone came out when this season came out and said that is absolutely not what Fallout ever was supposed to be. But whatever, the writers of this
But
show very clearly are making it some sort of criticism of capitalism,
I mean, but
and
to
it
be
just
fair, Jason,
thematically does not come together at all in any way that makes sense.
to be fair though, criticism of capitalism is really hot right now.
I
I
mean, it
mean,
is.
I'm criticizing it every day. That's not even a joke. I really am. But
But
anyway.
but the only point I'm trying to make is like the writers are very clearly going for the theme and just don't know how they're doing it. From
Hmm.
last season, having the big evil capitalists are going to be evil capitalists by nuking everything and destroying capitalism and somehow profiting from it, to the
Destroying it
wasteland,
while somehow
big evil.
profiting from it.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just none of it fucking makes.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it will make sense, but I just wanted to say one more thing about Lucy and her dad. I thought that scene was really, really good. Like Cooper coming in and making her make the choice of what to do, giving her a gun, like, do you kill him or not? And then
Hmm.
like when he, did the mind control on herself, because she was gonna decide to do that, which I thought was a cool angle. The way she hugged him and like it almost seemed like it was like her like last opportunity to like have her father as like a child, because she's, you know, she was very she was very
Sheltered,
close
yeah.
to him and very sheltered and things like that. And so I feel like the performance there of her like kind of crying and then realizing, okay, like that's it, I have to close this chapter and like move on, I thought was really done well.
For
Yeah.
sure. This show does not deserve these these actors.
Yeah.
um I think we can. I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about with Hank? I feel like he spent
I
most of
feel
the
like I
season
feel
just working away in a vault. So
yeah, I guess you could just say I found his sections a big waste of time because we're not like he's just blowing up mice and people heads without us really understand. Like I guess he's trying to make some improvement, even though it doesn't seem like he's making any
well, he's
changes.
trying to get the
But
thing working, but like
yeah, but
eventually he does.
he's not doing anything to change it. But he also like magically sneaks out and kidnaps like an NCR Ranger and a
Yeah, I do
Legionnaire,
think
and
I do think that's a big question
it's kind of
I saw people complaining about is like how the hell is he get how in this span of time did he
it's
sneak out and get
the
all these
same
people in
the
there?
same way he found a functioning nuclear warhead to destroy Shady Sands. You know, he's the man. Yeah.
Contrivances.
And
He
then
also
now
he
Hooray.
also
now
he
he's
also
nothing.
magic yeah, and he also magically forgets that he has a son. He seems to only
Oh,
care about his
yeah. I
Peter
mean, I
bomb.
feel
Yeah,
like the first season, I feel like they forgot about Norm a whole lot, and this season, I feel like they gave him a little more to do, and but at the
which
same
is funny
time,
because Norm is potentially the most compelling character.
well, yeah. I mean, let's talk about Norm and his whole arc is he's locked in Vault 31, and instead of eventually he eats all the rations trying to survive, and eventually is just like fuck this, and he wakes up all the middle management executives that were living in there, and um he kind of brings in yet another big plot implication after leaving the vault with all of them, after traveling to, I guess, what, Vault Tech headquarters, I think it was the building that
Yeah.
they go
I
to.
think, yeah.
He finds a computer terminal that talks about what I don't even remember explicitly what it said, but it mentioned the FEV, or forced evolutionary virus, which is another big thing from Fallout lore that this show is bringing in. And how
And the
did you
Master and
guys?
the super mutants, yeah.
Except we barely
Yeah,
got super mutant stuff here.
yeah. Well, hey, at least we got one, and it was played. He was played by Ron Perlman,
Yeah.
so that
I
was a
wanted
nice.
more. Yeah.
But again,
I
just
mean, anytime I see a super mutant, I think of Ron Perlman because have you seen that man?
like Delilah
He's
said, just
frightening.
all the stuff with the virus and the super mutant just set up that waste time here. Like it's trying to do so much when like as you pointed out, and as I just elucidated, like had they just cut all that shit out and just had a focused show on Lucy and the ghoul having adventures in the wasteland, could have been so good.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think again, having the universe is so big, and they could reasonably set the show anywhere, and just tell a story within the universe, and it could have been compelling. But they want to tie it into the greater canon. They want to make it the super important thing for the lore, and it's like
Which is the exact opposite of what like everybody wants. Yeah.
I agree. I wish it wasn't doing that, but it is, so we got to talk about it in that capacity. So with the FEV, like I so help me fill in the gaps here as someone again not
Yeah,
super familiar with.
the master is the main antagonist in the
I
first
know about the
game
master, and he wanted to turn everyone into super
into
mutants,
super mutants.
correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So is the FEV what accomplishes that? Is turning everyone into
Yes.
super mutants? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And clearly that's, I mean, I don't know. It potentially might be also playing into the Enclave again. And there's the one super mutant that we see, the one super mutant we've seen so far. We'll just call him Ron Perlman for simplicity's sake. Wants to go to war with the Enclave. Tries to recruit Cooper to join him. That was like another kind of throwaway moment that will likely have big implications for the future. Is that um the super mutants are, I guess, secretive or in hiding and want to go to war with the Enclave and are trying to recruit, I guess, capable people to go against them with them.
Well, I think there was also an element of they're not human. They're like others, so there's kind of like the super mutant like hinted at like an alliance between people not of human folk or something like that.
Or at least not, completely mutated to
Yeah,
into something that a lot of people could deem less than human.
I don't know.
So
It was like a very brief and non sequitur in the show. It kind of came and went, so I didn't
yeah,
really take too much
and
from
I
it.
think, and again, we've said it a couple times. It definitely felt like set up for the future, but it definitely ties in with this FEV revelation that seemingly someone in power, either someone at Vaultec or someone in Vaultec
Yeah,
working for the Enclave. And I think that that's also the implication with Hank and Steph, because we could talk about that now too, just before we get back to Norm. Like Steph, she gets found out by the Vault residents, um, about her status as a Canadian and all that, and uh, she the one thing she wanted from her former Vault was Hank's Pip Boy, or Hank's like case, which we come to find out is a Pip Boy, and the Pip Boy is used to communicate to the Enclave to initiate phase 2 of the experiment, whatever that may be. Seemingly, that, from what I can tell, given the pieces that are put in front of us, to unleash the FEV on everybody outside in the wasteland. That's the
apparently
real
the
experiment,
experiment.
according to
Yeah,
Hank. Yeah.
I don't know.
Um. So yeah, is it to turn everyone into super mutants? And that then would raise the question: why do super mutants that do exist want to go to war with the Enclave? Are they trying to prevent everyone becoming like them? Like what is the deal?
Or like the mind control
Yeah,
also.
originally there was an element of control that the master he was controlling the super mutants. I don't remember
Yeah.
the exact mechanics of it. It's been a while, but there is an element where some super mutants are subservient. That's kind of the original goal of the super mutants, was that they were essentially slaves. Um, they did not have their own autonomy, but then there were other super mutants that did obtain their own autonomy. And obviously in other games, and in New Vegas, there are small enclaves of super mutants that are separate from human beings. Um, so that's just something that evolved. Originally, with the master, the conceit was that super mutants were designed to be slaves. So the goal was to turn humans into super mutants to enslave them, essentially, and
Yeah.
create like a super labor force.
Okay.
And I wonder if like that's kind of the moral complexity philosophy angle that this show is going in, is like, is control a form of mercy? Because it almost made it seem like, oh, hey, there's this like bad guy and he would probably do bad things and kill people you care about if we didn't like do this mind control thing. So why not just do it? Is it really the worst thing if he's gonna be like a nice guy, subservient, say thank you? You know, I think that was like a big thing in the show. They even say thank you, you know? Um, so I wonder if they're trying to like go that direction with morals, like, oh, can you control people, or do you just let them have free will and then they do bad things like most people in
Right.
the wasteland
The
because they're trying
idea
to
that free
survive?
will, it's like Loki in the Avengers. It's the idea like he's got with the staff thing, free will being a curse and not a blessing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely now another big hanging question. What is phase 2, and
What was
what
phase one?
I guess
Exactly.
I guess what was going on in vaults 31 through 33.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
They're just
Um
they're just building conspiracy upon conspiracy without really explaining it.
Yeah,
It-
I mean,
that's true.
maybe next season Steph's gonna find another Pip Boy and say execute Order 66. I mean, we don't know. We'll find out at some point when Fallout continues. Um
Ah,
so I guess back to Norm, like He's got like the biggest plot armor in the show, huh?
Right.
And
He
somehow,
survived so much bullshit.
somehow, somehow, rad roaches are like the biggest fucking threat in the wasteland.
Yeah, bigger than death claws.
Holy shit, that was like a brutal. He walked into that room and it's like, wait, where did they all go? Everyone
I
is dead. They couldn't
and
have
they
killed
spared
them.
and they spared the one girl that he was interested in and is clearly a love
His
interest. Yeah.
girlfriend, his
Yeah.
girlfriend lived. Only
The
the
one
good
person
people have plot
the one
armor.
person that it's also worth pointing out that when he's trapped, so the little brain, I forget what the name is of the guy who's it's just his brain in the little
I can't
machine.
remember.
Um,
Yeah.
But the whole time that Norm is trapped in there before he sets everybody free, he could very clearly just look up and see the ladder with the latch that they end up climbing out of and
Yeah.
climb out. And for some reason, it's not until he frees everybody that he just decides to climb up that ladder and up that ladder.
Yeah.
Well, I think he couldn't. I think partially or part of it was he couldn't reach it, right?
Maybe I
Like,
don't
I
remember,
mean,
but
he doesn't notice it until he's with everybody, but he wouldn't have been able to reach it anyway.
yeah,
It's like
that's kind of the
those things kind of happened in reverse. Um. By the way, his name was Bud Askins. The or as the Wikipedia
the
credit,
brain guy. Okay, yeah.
brain on a Roomba. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, with like Norm's storyline definitely got more interesting this season, but at the same time, um, brought up more intrigue, and he's got the thickest plot armor possible with surviving that attack fairly unscathed, and literally his one ally is the only one that lived through that attack
I mean,
besides him. It's
We'll
between like
chalk it to the luck stats.
yeah, exactly.
yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
that's the shield the writers will definitely take. Like she rolled high on luck, man. What do you want me to do about
I
it?
mean, between Steph, Norm, the fucking cousin fucking support group, all the vault related subplots and storylines, I just started kind of phasing in and out of
I mean,
and
that
blanking
one was definitely like
because
it all just felt like a build up to the reveal about Steph, right? Like just
yeah,
it felt like it needed to have something going on in the vaults, A, to kind of unify people a little bit, but also B, to just have enough going on in the vaults that they could still have a storyline there
well, here's
to
the thing.
continue the actual important part with it.
Here's the thing. Norm in the first season was vaguely interesting, actually, because he was uncovering what was going on in the vaults. And
Slowly, yeah.
if you're a Fallout fan, you know that the vaults are where these social experiments are happening. But
Well,
what
but
we come
not
to,
anymore.
what we come to,
The real experiment is on the outside. I'm just kidding.
well, we do see other vaults that have been raided by when the Ghoul and Lucy go to other vaults where they see other experiments that have been conducted. The problem, though, is that when we do find out what's going on in Vault 33, we come to find out it's really just a breeding ground for middlemen. It's not really a social experiment. It's like
Well,
they're just keeping middle management, like this certain
but
class of people with certain what's the word I'm looking for?
we don't know, Jason,
Mental
because what is phase
cognitive
two?
capabilities.
What is phase two? That's the thing we don't know. Is like maybe it has something to do intrinsically with those three vaults.
Well, you can already piece it together that presumably they're going to wipe out the surface to create a new world with the government and these middle management from vaults 33, 31, and be the middle management.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
mean,
not really
look,
an experiment so much as it is just a giant storage unit. And then you have the whole fucking
potentially,
stupid storyline with the fucking support group and
yeah. I'm
this
just
woman waits, this overseer waits to the end to do what she should have done from the get-go, beat their fucking heads in with a baton. Like,
yeah, I'm just trying to say, like, we don't, like, there still is or could be further developments that move that into an unexpected territory, or an unexpected
maybe,
direction. Like, we
maybe.
don't know. We don't know what phase two is, and it could be only tied to those three vaults. Maybe those three vaults are extremely important to some experiment that the Enclave specifically is running, or maybe it's something on the surface. We
I
simply
guess
don't know yet.
I guess in summary, all of the vault subplots were easily just the worst part of the season for me.
I mean, I don't disagree. I don't disagree whatsoever. It's just we don't know quite where it's going yet. So the experiment, I mean, we still are sitting here wondering like what exactly is the full extent of this experiment with these three vaults. And now given Hank's comment, like is there truly an experiment? I mean, we know that there has to be, right? Because we know that's what the vaults in Fallout are, and they can't, no matter what they try to do with this show, giving some sort of vague line like that, like they're not changing that. They're not changing what the vaults have always been. They can't just do that, and they will probably get a lot of trepidation and anger and pushback from fans if they even remotely try.
Yeah.
So we'll see, you know.
I will say, again, I haven't played all the Fallout games, but I kind of appreciate, even though it's not as strong as the surface stuff, I kind of appreciate focus on vault stuff. Because I feel like when I played the games, I always, like, you get out the vault and you're mostly on the surface, and I always, like, kind of wanted to see, like, how things played out in the vaults, you know, figure out, like, what that was like. So I guess I like that the show's doing that a lot more.
Oh
Yeah,
no, I don't I don't
I
disagree
don't
with you,
disagree with
Delilah.
that.
And like I said, I liked it in the first season because there was a mystery, and Norm. That's why Norm was probably the most interesting character for me in the first season. The problem is that the mystery is resolved. We know what it is. So where do you go from here?
Well, but that's the thing is like we don't necessarily know. There could there likely is a lot more to it than we realize. It's just when are we going to find out about that? It is kind of playing us along and raising a lot more questions than answers.
Yeah.
So at some point, you know, we gotta learn more, and we won't that's gonna have to wait until next season, hopefully.
Hmm.
You know.
I guess.
Um.
Everything has to wait till next season.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
basically.
I mean, yeah, yeah. I guess that was a stupid fucking thing to say. Whoops. Um, I don't. We never really finished talking about Cooper. So let's jump back to Cooper. Right? We talked a little bit about him delivering cold fusion to House. We talked about House, but like him finding the vault empty, Cooper leading him to the vault, his family's not there, and how do you guys feel about Colorado? We didn't talk much about Colorado, like at least in how we feel about it going there. Do you guys have any strong feelings toward that or
I don't know. I just feel like things we're not like dwelling enough where we currently are. Like I feel like there's
Yeah.
constantly a new place being introduced each season, and it's just a lot.
And this
Yeah,
season basically just set up the factions from New Vegas, which
well again, I think
and set them up for a conflict as if the Battle of Hoover Dam, the second battle, I should say, of Hoover Dam never happened.
well, okay, actually,
So
this might be a bit more of an interesting conversation because, like, I still maintain what I said, right? Like, they can move to a new location, and leave this renewed conflict between the NCR and Khazar's Legion
but
to
you,
just
you can't do that because even if you're not a Fallout lore fan or a Fallout fan like me or somebody who knows even if you're just a normie watching the show, the ending of the final episode set these factions all up. Clearly, they're going to come to
yeah,
a quick head and a conflict between
but
these
they
factions.
have but
It would
they
be like going.
realistically have they
Go ahead.
realistically don't have anything to do with our main cast.
But it doesn't matter
You know,
because they spent this whole season setting up these factions, and in the final,
no,
it would be
I don't know.
the final episode. The ending of it is almost identical to the way this ending of the second season of House of the Dragon was. So it would almost be like if the next season coming up of House of the Dragon open with the battle that was promised at the ending of the second season
Yeah,
of House of the Dragon.
but again, what I'm trying to convey is that these things they didn't spend the season setting up this conflict. They spent the season moving our main cast toward their own along their own plot lines, their own goals, their own motivations, and in the backdrop facilitating that stuff where these remaining
I
factions, right?
I don't disagree, and that's where the disconnect comes. Where like
Well, I'm
the problem is that the faction conflict is almost entirely unrelated to conflicts, but you still made those promises as a writer and put those
well,
promises on screen.
not necessarily, Jason. Maybe the whole point of it all was to renew this conflict that would have seemingly been resolved by the conclusion of the New Vegas game. Because, and here it is,
Uh-oh.
war. War never changes. That could be it, man. Like that could be the whole point of that. You might not like it. I kind of don't either necessarily, but that's what it could be. That's all it
No,
could be.
yeah,
Because none of those characters are important to our main cast. None of
I
them are.
you are
kind of
completely correct in that the writers could just genuinely be that
Hey,
stupid.
I'm always correct, guys. Like that's the thesis of this show.
I kind of hope that because Lucy and Maximus were sort of shepherding this war in many ways, like not that they intentionally happened, but
Yeah.
their decisions, right? The dialogue choices they made is what led this war to pop off. I want them to kind of be integrated in that in some kind of way where they face some kind of consequence to their decisions. Like either they meet a character that's like involved and that character winds up being like really negatively impacted by it in some kind of way, or they find out that maybe like some members of the Legion or are not like so culty and weird and they wind up becoming like companions in some way. Because I feel like that's what Fallout is like, you know, even though you have someone part of a faction, like some of them suck, but some of them you actually get close with and you find out that they're not like, not everyone in every faction has the same mindset, except, you know, Brotherhood of Steel does have like, for the most part, but you know, there are outliers throughout the series, at least from the games that I experienced. So it'd be interesting to have it be like a war that's just on the side of everything that's happening with our main characters and have the main characters actually be impacted by that dialogue choice that caused the war in some kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, if they let's put it this way, if they are going to make that renewed conflict matter to the narrative of this show, it needs to somehow tie in to the main character's story. It can't just be something that they renew and then do something on the side with. Or here's the cynical part of me. What if it leads to a spin-off show where they just completely have it disconnected and like its own narrative that is literally disconnected because it's just a spin-off show. Call it the Fallout Renewed Vegas
I mean, dude,
show.
you can already argue these factions are completely disconnected from like to just go back to Maximus real quick, like he just accidentally starts this civil war with the Brotherhood, flees, finds Thaddeus, somehow gets mixed up in fighting Death Claws in Freeside, which
Which
we're not even going to delve into how that doesn't make sense in all the factions in Freeside and New Vegas trip and why
but
none of it makes
but
sense how stupid that whole sequence is,
I don't know though. It was kind
but
of a cool action sequence.
ultimately Maximus has no stake in any of it, like no
Well,
reason or motivation to be like
he
No, I
does
just
now in the sense that he has feelings for Lucy,
right.
you know.
It's basically like fucking what is his Finn in in the last.
oh no.
Oh, here we go. The obligatory Star Wars mention. Well, I guess I made an Order 66 joke earlier, but
I
that
started
was
with
just a passing joke.
I started with the Star Wars reference with it. Somehow Palpatine returned. Somehow the
Oh yeah,
Enclave
shit. I
returned.
forgot about
It's
that one.
basically
It's all over the episode.
when they mention the Enclave in the show, people need to understand that for Fallout fans, that has the equivalent weight of saying somehow Palpatine returned. It's like the same sentence because it just fucking doesn't make sense.
Sure.
and it just fucks with the entire timeline and lore
Yeah.
and everything that's been going on. Yeah.
I feel like if they could somehow find a way to have characters like supporting characters that get introduced from the factions, it might make those other stories feel
Like
more
Macaulay
impactful.
Culkin, the new
Yeah,
Kaiser.
Macaulay Culkin's gonna become a party member.
And the Legatus that he gets cast as was so cool. He was one of the coolest characters in the fucking original game. And we haven't even talked about the Legion and how Delilah just refers to them as a cult. You have to understand, like in the game, Kaiser is he might not be quite as intelligent as Robert House, but he is easily the best read, and you have full blown philosophical discussions of him. Granted, he's literally quoting and believes in the philosophical bases of Italian fascism. So like Mussolini, Giuseppe, and he quotes them, but he also is well enough read to know like the Hegelian dialectic, Marxist theory, and like he's a fucking intelligent guy. He doesn't just like choose fascism on a cultish whim. Like, he genuinely believes that democracy and liberalism led to the end of the old. This is what I mean when I say like the writing is.
Yeah, totally.
Personally, I thought they had the biggest. I think Kaisar's Legion actually had the biggest payoff in the entire season, because it all built up to a Kaisar's Palace joke, and that was the most important thing to happen all season. It was all worth it in the end. That's all I'm saying. So I mean, the other angle from but like in parallel with Kaiser with the Kaisar's Legion kind of making a comeback is the NCR. I saw a lot of people really excited about them recreating that shot from New Vegas's opening of the Ranger with the anti-material rifle, which was like,
Remember Harry?
cool. Yeah, right, exactly. Which is, it's like cool, but like I don't really like. What's the big deal?
Well,
Is it really that big of a deal?
apparently, when Cooper originally encounters the NCR, there's like two people left in the fucking NCR, which
Well, they were
people.
splintered because of the Kaiser
Yeah, but
conflict,
it's been
right?
like 10 years. She's like, we've been out here alone for.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
you gotta like, as I said earlier in the beginning of this entire episode, the NCR is basically a very sizable nation state filled with tens of thousands of people
Well,
and individual states within the state, just like the United States, and
no.
military bases all over. And apparently they're just two people, and fucking according to Cooper, the NCR is
Well,
gone,
it's
and then
no. I think
hundreds
it's
of them
not
show up
just.
at the end of the season. Like I don't.
Again, it's not just two people. They were splintered off and couldn't get back to the rest of to the rest of them. That was the whole point of that.
But that's
And
not even a thing. It doesn't even depict like it depicts the NCR as if it's just totally wiped out. Like you see, they go multiple times to different stashes and ruins of NCR bases. Throughout the entire season, it leads
no,
you on that
I
the
know.
NCR is just non-existent.
But they
So
do,
like,
but my point with Jason is that they talk about how splintered they are, right? And I think that's in the wake. Again, this is all stuff that is at least contained within the show or the canon that the show is introducing. I think the inciting incident to that was the bombing of Shady Sands. I think that's the implication that that's
yeah,
what
which is why I brought
or
it up.
that's what splintered them off. That's kind of what started to decimate the NCR as a community, and it's not helped with that group in specifically of the two people being unable to rejoin the rest of its group because of the conflict with Kaisar's Legion, because they can't decide who is going to be the successor.
And this
Um,
also going back to the Battle of Hoover Dam, like one of those factions or neither has to win that battle. So like it almost renders it as if the Battle of Hoover Dam never happened. New Vegas
Well,
as a
yeah,
game
I mean
never
that's
happened.
that is partly partly the issue with skirting around what is and isn't canon from the ending of New Vegas, right? Like, is the implication that 15 years is enough time for whoever won that battle to not matter? Um,
And you
or are
gotta
they?
just other little things like the different chapters of the Brotherhood that come to that meeting, like Yosemite, one of the Grand Canyon. Like this is all territory that is part of the NCR. I believe the Grand
Or
Canyon
at
is
least
NCR territory, and
territory you could argue is part of the Mojave Wasteland. So theoretically, whoever won the battle at the Hoover Dam would have control of that territory. Is that an accurate statement?
no. The Grand Canyon, I believe,
Okay.
is NCR territory before New Vegas.
Okay.
So like that chapter of the Brotherhood would have been coming from what was. I mean, even if Shady Sands is bombed, that's far away enough that there would still be some form of local governance. That's what the NCR is established to be. Is very similar to the U.S. structure. It's a republic with individual state governance with a central governance in Shady Sands. If you understand.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I definitely, just to bring it back, like I'll definitely agree that it's
Again, I don't want. I'm trying my best not to. But like all of these little things just add up to like just.
well, no, it's definitely like it it feels like this game that had a story that was that was driven by the player, your moral decisions, your choices in terms of how this conflict would be resolved. It almost feels like it doesn't matter, right? Because they didn't necessarily commit to any one ending, which in my opinion again is good, but at the same time having a story that's set very close in time to that period where there should have been some sort of conclusion, some sort of resolution to it, it almost feels like it doesn't matter because everyone is just kind of either splintered off, seemingly doesn't have
It's
control, and inevitably comes back to war with each other.
it's not even that the. I'm not even like me and set that canon doesn't matter. Like that they didn't choose an ending. We're upset at how they canonized a complex, nuanced world that you were engaging with and just turned it into stupid slop. And now it's just good guy versus bad guy. NCR good guy, Legion bad guy, which was not the case in the game. The NCR committed various atrocities in the expansion of their nation, their federation, and was a completely corrupt bureaucracy. And the Legion, as violent and terrible as they were, especially from our present day viewpoint, there were reasons that Kaiser and his Legion chose the philosophy they did and do what they do, even if you disagree with it.
Yeah. Delilah, you got anything you want to add on this?
Nope.
I feel like we've just been going back. Jason and I have just
Yeah,
been going
I'm
back and
spinning
forth
wheels
a
a
Yeah,
lot.
lot.
I'm
no,
sorry. Yeah.
I mean, I get his frustration. So I still enjoy the show either way, but
Yeah.
I can see picking it apart based off being like a hardcore Fallout fan, which I am not. I do like the Fallout series, but I haven't played all of them to take that mantle, you know?
Yeah.
Really, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, as Mark established, if this wasn't canon, wouldn't
Yeah,
care.
exactly.
But this affects the games,
But it's also like,
presumably now.
yeah, I think it's less at this point, as I've been thinking this through, and as I feel like my take has kind of become a little more nuanced as I've been thinking it through. Like it's less that it affects the past. It's more about how the show is going to affect the future,
Future of the games, yes.
how important this game is going to, or this show is going to be to informing the story or the plot of future things. Because frankly, it's not like Bethesda doesn't even have um they don't even have the best track record with games released in their era of owning the series. Obsidian does with New Vegas.
Right. Which is what, as I referenced earlier, Delilah's take on the main story sucking is very much a Fallout 3 and 4, aka Bethesda Studio
Yes.
versus New Vegas, which the
Right.
main story I've been talking about ad nauseum this entire time.
Mm-hmm. All right, there's one more thing I have written here to talk about, and that's the post credits or mid credits scene for the finale. Jason, did you go back and watch it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, which so characteristic. Like I'm watching the credits and there's a scene and I'm like, oh, Jason definitely didn't see this. Hey, Jason. um, and that's with Quintus. Maximus tried to kill Quintus and ultimately couldn't or chose not to, and in kind of reconciling with the fact that they're now at war with other chapters of the Brotherhood, Dane brings him blueprints, and they open the blueprints together, and they're blueprints for Liberty
Liberty
Prime
Prime.
Alpha, which is Fallout 3 the only game
No, it's in
to
Fallout
Fallout
have?
4.
Is it in Fallout 4 as well?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
I guess, like,
any
history
Bethesda
for the
Fallout
viewers
has a
to
Liberty
just
Prime.
know. Okay. History for the viewers to know. I rage quit Fallout 4 after I was like stuck for 2 hours trying to get down like this area and just kept dying in the stupidest ways possible. And I just never picked the game back up. It just made me so angry after
Oh,
that kept
I
happening.
platinumed Fallout 4 not because I liked the game. I was doing a review.
That was your first platinum, right?
I think so, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think I remember that, and I was proud of
I do remember that. It was so funny.
it.
Because I
Like
hated it so much.
I could not believe that of all the games you were gonna platinum, it was Fallout
I mean,
4. It
it
was
would
like,
actually make sense that I would
man.
platinum a Fallout game, generally speaking.
I mean, I feel like now it would make more sense for you to platinum other games, but well, you
Oh,
have,
sure.
I think,
I
since
have.
then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Expedition
but
33, yeah.
right, which is like the one I was gonna bring up. Like, yeah, that one I would expect you to platinum, and you did. You did, admittedly. But yeah, yeah. So I didn't know Liberty Prime came up in any other game, which is very funny that it has. Like, this is
Well,
just, I guess, the Bethesda thing. Like,
it's
oh,
like the Fridwin.
gotta whip out that Liberty Prime card.
Yeah, it was very fan
The
servicey.
Fridwin, we first see it in Fallout 4, and it's a big deal when it flies in. And
Mm.
there's a ton of research and work and whatnot that went into building that. And then in the show, there's just like a battle between like fucking like 7 Pridwins just show up, somehow fly across the country in like a day. And there's a giant aerial battle over Area 50. Like,
Yeah.
Mm.
I popped when I saw, the Liberty Prime. I was like, oh, because that
I
was my
mean,
favorite ending in Fallout 4.
mm.
So
oh,
I was,
siding with the Brotherhood, yeah.
yeah, I thought that was the best
I think I
storyline.
agree. I think I agree with you with that in terms of the endings of Fallout 4.
Yeah, and like the revelations for Paladin Dance, I was like, oh man, that's
Dance
good.
Dance Revolution. I loved those memes.
Yeah, those were good.
I mean, for me, it was
Um,
just like that Leo meme where he's pointing at the screen. It's like, I know the thing. It's the thing. It's Liberty
yeah.
Prime.
Yeah,
Whatever.
but again, it just felt like fan service. That's all. We'll
It
see what
is.
they do with Liberty Prime.
Yeah.
Bethesda Game Studios, for some reason, really, really fucking love the Brotherhood of Steel, and
because
goes
it's
out of their way
because
to go ahead.
I mean, I feel like it's because I feel like the first two Fallout games are a little guilty of this. Like, power armor is cool looking.
Yeah,
The Brotherhood uses power armor a lot. So having that kind of imagery on your cover, on like just like front and center, it's like that to them, and I guess to a lot of people, it's intrinsically and visually that's Fallout. The Brotherhood of Steel power armor, that's Fallout. And like, yeah, I'm not saying that's a good thing necessarily. I'm just trying to offer a reason why maybe that's why Bethesda kind
Sure.
of keeps beating that drum, um, and really just leveraging that fan service, that those recognizable like icons or things,
Sure, you're not wrong in terms of the cover. I mean, look at the NCR Ranger that's on the cover of the New Vegas game,
Yeah,
and so iconically, they use that shot of them firing the rifle in at the
right.
end of this episode. Yeah,
yeah.
I
The
mean, that
games
was
generally like have a lot of iconography, so
yeah,
I get it.
yeah, the
yeah.
Voltec uniforms.
Yeah, the
Um,
bobbleheads,
But
yeah,
lunchboxes.
it is extremely funny though that like now knowing, because I didn't know Liberty Prime also appeared in 4, so it's very funny that yet another Fallout thing under Bethesda. They're now what, like, not counting New Vegas, obviously, because to me that isn't really Bethesda. That's Obsidian.
Mhm.
But so like
It's
they're
not
now
even
what
really
three?
Obsidian. That's the leftovers of Black Isle. Because
No, I
that's
know, I
yeah,
know.
Obsidian back then is very different Obsidian from now. Yeah.
Yeah, but even so, it's still like Obsidian. Obsidian is a really like great studio even today, I think. But like point being though is that like with things since Bethesda acquired the IP that Bethesda has put out, unless Liberty Prime also appears somehow in 76, they're now 3 for 4 with Liberty
I
Prime
would not be
showing up in
surprised if
Bethesda
it
Fallout
does.
properties.
I
Here, you
have
know
next
what?
to zero knowledge of 76. I never played it and never will.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just
it very
curious. I'm
well
just
could
gonna
have. It
Google
There has been a ton
Fallout
of
or
content put
76.
in that game, so it probably is in there somewhere.
I'm just gonna Google if oh, there's power. Okay, apparently there's power armor that's themed around Liberty Prime, but we don't have
Yeah.
to count that. I feel like we shouldn't count that.
I
I
Yeah.
mean,
don't
look,
think that's a
I,
fair.
I get it with the power armor just because the power armor comes from comes from the military and was what was left of it was hoarded by the Brotherhood of Steel. Like, just the Brotherhood of Steel never seems affected by any of the events of the world like they were in the original
Yeah.
or New Vegas
Yeah.
for that matter. It's just they're always there. They always have, and there's no real explanation as to how they stay so simultaneously powerful yet not controlling the entire wasteland.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see what they use old Liberty for in Fallout Season 3.
That whole post credit scene is so fucking stupid because he's like, I tried to be the conciliator, now I will be the conqueror. Okay. You're just gonna fucking kill everybody with a giant robot spite? Like again, this is character what happened to just
I mean,
some
like I
logical
said,
character motives?
it just kind of brings up a lot of questions about like what's the implication with this chapter of the Brotherhood? Are you missing the point of the Brotherhood, or is the point that this is like such a misguided chapter specifically that like they're completely disobeying the laws of the Brotherhood and just doing their own thing? Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
because
I
they're
don't know.
like a scholastic ecclesia. They've got like fucking theology, and yes, they have chapters with slightly different interpretations. Just the way it's interpreted here is just fucking stupid. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like none of them care about Codex.
Mm.
But whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything we needed to cover, and I didn't write a final. I kind of left the final question open ended. Like, hey, is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Anything you want to see answered in season 3 that we don't have answered that we haven't already talked about?
Everything.
Um.
Literally everything.
Okay, sure.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I would prefer there not to be a season 3.
Yeah, well, they can't
Hope-
leave it here, man. They
hopefully,
gotta.
yeah, hopefully Walton Goggins gets called up to the last Tarantino movie and is like, yeah, fuck it, I'm not fucking doing any more Fallout, and the whole show falls.
Damn.
That you hope that it. So wait, you said you hope that Walton Goggins gets called into the last Tarantino movie?
Yeah, because whatever or at least Tarantino says
You
whatever his
so
next movie is gonna
so
be.
you mean
His last.
so you mean the next last Tarantino movie? Because hasn't he said that a couple times? He's like Kojima, like this is gonna be my last Metal Gear,
No,
and then
no,
he
no,
makes
no, no, no.
another.
He's always said he wants. I believe.
Oh, okay.
I
Oh,
might
I
be
thought
mistaken. I'm pretty sure he's always said
I
10.
could be wrong. Oh no, yeah, you're right. Well, wait, wasn't all
Because
right, whatever.
that
Yeah,
was always his thing. He had wanted to do another Kill Bill 10 movies, so he was always conflicted.
Okay. Um,
This whole
and then
like conversation just reminds me of like kind of Final Fantasy 7 remake where it's like, you know, me and Mark really like part 1, Jason didn't really like it, and then part 2 we all were like about like nah, like it didn't, yeah, it's kind of fallen off the rails.
You know
But
what?
then there's this like hope that like the part 3 or season 3 in Fallout's case will bring it together in a way that it pays off well. I just kind of have like the same sentiment for those two properties for some
Dude,
reason.
my correctness is like war, man. Change.
I
And look,
mean,
I the general consensus around the show seems to be very much what you guys are voicing here, where I hated season 1, the general public seemed to love it, and the general public really didn't talk about this second season all that much, and what they did was very disappointed. It kind of came and went like a wet fart.
Well, hold on, because I don't know that that's entirely true, and I'm trying to find what I want to find to see how true that is.
I mean, by video game standards, video game show standards, I think it's great.
There really
But-
wasn't all that much discourse compared to the first season.
No,
Well,
I agree with that.
I think so. I want to bring this up because I feel like every time we cover a TV show, this is always something that I like to mention. And this show is a little weird in with regards to what I'm about to say. At the end of the day, even though this show is canon and is trying to fit in with the events of the games, I do still do not view this show as being marketed or made for fans of the games.
Absolutely not.
Because like in that you agree with me or in that you disagree?
No, I agree with you. In fact, I would
Okay.
say because Todd Howard is executive producer on the show, and it's very
Yeah.
clear that he is actually genuinely involved in it.
Yeah.
There's always
he
been
absolutely is.
there's always been like a conspiracy theory that Todd Howard is trying to retcon anything in the games, in the Bethesda games, anything that has to do with New Vegas, because to spite Obsidian, because he hates how much people love
Aw.
New Vegas. It's like a conspiracy theory that's been in the Fallout fandom forever. This show,
Yeah.
though, makes me think that that conspiracy theory actually might be true.
I don't know.
Damn.
But like like at the end of the day, if there's any, because this show even and this second season was still like, it was still critically acclaimed. Like it's still reviewed very well. It has a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic.
I don't care about
Hold
critics.
on,
I'm talking about just people. Yeah.
hold on. Let me get to my point, please. So like, yeah, with Rotten Tomatoes it's high, Metacritic's pretty high, and like that again, that is critics, right? That is a critical score, or even if you're talking about the audience score, it's general audiences. And that's who this is for. It's for your average. It's the same thing I said about The Last of Us on HBO. It's the same thing that I've said that I'll always say about any of these video game adaptations. They're not really for fans. They're for people that have these subscriptions. It's to put out something to get more people maybe interested in the video games. But it's not for the gamers. It's not for the people that are already fans, because those people are playing video games. They're not watching these shows necessarily, because that's not their main medium. That's not their main thing. And we do this fucking show. We're always going to watch it and then talk about it, right? Because that's just what we do here at Reap the Spoils. But at the end of the day, the majority of the people that are likely reviewing and watching this show on whole are not gamers. They're not people that are playing the Fallout video games. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of the people watching the Fallout TV show, the only Fallout game that they've played is Fallout Shelter. I would not be shocked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my partner hasn't played Fallout. He only played a little bit of 3, and he likes the show, so that checks out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like at least when The Last of Us came out, at least there was another remake of I think part 2, and part 1, if I'm not mistaken. They were both remade at some point, but
yes.
Well, there was the did 2 remastered come out before part 1, the remake of part 1 of 1? I can't remember the order of which they came out.
Yeah, I can't either, but I remember it being quite close to the show.
Yeah.
I think part 1 came out first, and then
like,
part 1 came out first, because then people, I remember it was only after that with the part 2 that people were like, why the fuck 2?
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
They were definitely riding on the show. It's also a little different because you're a straightforward narrative.
Yeah, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that like it made sense, for for the pockets of the people who make these games to have like a new audience come in to play the games, because a lot of people did start playing The Last of Us after watching the show.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's like a lot, like New Vegas, for example, is very at least from what I remember, janky by modern standards, and so there's a lot of like kinks in it. So
Well,
I
it's
think it
also
wouldn't
hard to
be
access
as
that at
accessible,
PC.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So it would have been pretty cool if they aligned this show with like a Fallout New Vegas remaster or something like that.
Well, yeah, that does really beg the question, because that's kind of one of those like worst kept secrets in video games right now, is this Fallout 3 remaster or remake, this Fallout New Vegas remaster or remake, presumably maybe by the same studio that did the Oblivion remaster. Rebuilding and re-releasing the game in Unreal Engine 5, I think. But
Mhm.
point is like, yeah, how
Well,
did you not
It's
have something like that?
It's Unreal
Go ahead.
5 like layered over the creation.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
that's besides the point. My point being
Yeah.
is, yeah, how if that's so heavily rumored to the point where it's basically all but confirmed, how did you not plan to have that ready
I think
in
they did.
time and in tandem with this game or with this season of
You remember
television?
the leaked documents that all comes from? Basically everything
Was
on
that the
those
Epic?
documents. Yeah, it was when they
Yeah.
were like pitching the sale for the company. And all those documents that leaked out and whatnot.
Oh, for the
Um,
Bethesda sale to Microsoft you're talking
I
about?
bel It might have been.
Uh,
I forget which one.
what I
There was
was guessing was the Epic versus Apple and Google lawsuit.
What I'm getting
Mhm.
at is that there was a timeline, and the Oblivion remake slash remaster was on that timeline, and basically
Mm.
everything on that timeline, for the most part, come to pass, but been shifted down by like 2 years. So
Yeah.
basically, I think that they might have been planning for that shit to coincide with the show,
Mm.
and when everything got shifted, it just got shifted out.
That's a shame.
Maybe. I mean, maybe they'll be ready in time for Fallout Season 3.
Yeah.
But I do definitely think that there should have been some sort of re-release or something for New Vegas specifically, just given how important it is to this season. And
Yeah.
it's kind of baffling that it wasn't a thing.
It's also an extraordinarily glitchy, without mods on PC, borderline unplayable game.
Right. Hmm.
Because the engine starts stuttering within an hour. Basically, everything you do in the game gets like stored in memory by the engine, and the more you do in the game, the more
Well,
the
that
engine
was
has to fucking calibrate. So it
that
causes so many crashes.
I wonder if you're because that was 100% an issue with Fallout 3 on PS3,
Mm.
where the longer you played, the bigger your save got. I think by the time your save file reaches like 5 MB or something, then the game becomes unplayable
Yeah,
on
no,
That's
but
PS3
crazy.
specifically.
the problem was that New Vegas has way more going on in terms of
Yeah, but
how much
I
how
don't
much it has to keep track of.
I don't remember ever hearing that about New Vegas, but I know for a fact
There's
Fallout
a
3 on
patch.
PS3 had that problem.
There's a patch you have to, even to this day, there's a patch you like are almost
Hmm.
required to get for New Vegas on Steam, in order for it to
Well,
not crash and bug out and frame drop.
I'll keep that in mind because that's where I'm going to inevitably wind up playing New Vegas.
Yes,
Because
you need to
I
just
I
look it
need to
up.
play New Vegas at
Yeah,
this
just
point.
Google it and you'll be able to see the exact mod
Yeah,
that
I'll
you need.
figure
Yeah.
it out. But anyway, is there anything else you guys want to bring up before we wrap up the show?
What's the name of Steph's baby?
Who cares?
Do you know?
It's Junior, isn't it? Like his name, whatever. Because it's not actually his. I didn't even remember that it's not. But whatever. I don't know. He's not an important
Fallout
character.
Steph's baby. Let's see.
It's the same name as the husband. It's named after the
Oh,
husband, but he's not actually the father.
It's Chet Jr. Yes, it's
Chet.
Chet
Okay.
Jr.
Chet Jr.
But
That's
yeah, who
so
cares?
funny.
Because Chet's not. He's like, what is
Well, I
he?
mean, we didn't talk about Chet, but he is the one that finds out that Steph is Canadian and refuses
Rats
to
are out.
marry her in order to and rats her out. Yeah, so it's like Chet is like kind of facilitates important events, but I wouldn't say he necessarily is an important character. Maybe he'll become one. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing
Um,
else.
I did have one more thing before we wrap up, and that's that my wife, Katie, found it very important to let you guys know that she found the flea soup that Lucy was served to be like the most disgusting thing she's ever seen.
Fair enough.
Like
Yeah,
we
that
started
was gross.
we started watching last night. This is like a little bit of an aside. Last night we started watching The Pit, like from the beginning. We've never seen it, but we've heard it's good, so we started watching it. First two episodes in at this point of recording. Very good show. And there is like someone that comes into the hospital with like a foot that is basically like crushed and falling off their leg because they fell onto the subway tracks. And I can't deal with that shit.
Mm.
Like I just can't do it. It really like just freaked me out and bugged me out. And she's a medical professional. So she after that scene and I was like, all skeeved out, she said, yeah, that still wasn't nearly as bad as the flea soup from Fallout.
Wow.
So,
Damn.
The flea soup was kind of gross.
I mean,
it
I'll
was
give her that.
gross. It was gross, but like, yeah. So there you
Notice
go.
how much. Notice how much
That's what we're
more.
gonna
How
end it
much.
on.
No, notice how much more memorable that small thing is, though, than like any of the stuff that kind of just faded away. That's why I said it should just be a small adventure with Lucy and the Gold. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Look how much the fucking Night of the Seven Kingdom is. That's the ending. That's the conclusion of this. Go fucking watch Night.
Hell, no. I mean, no. For the conclusion of this is going to be the conclusion that I also direct at you specifically, Jason. Go watch Pluribus, please,
I don't want
please.
Apple TV.
I can give you my login.
I'll watch it when it comes somewhere else. Okay, maybe.
It's an Apple TV production. All right, never mind. One day I'll get you to do it. Jason, what's the Kwasnicki rating on this season of television? Are you going to give a Kwasnicki? Oh,
2 out of 10
damn,
rads.
bro,
2 out of 10 what?
You were not even that mean this whole episode, and you're about to break out a 2 out of 10 rads.
Oh, I was holding back.
Jeez.
I was very much
Oh.
holding back. Like I said at the beginning, I was not going. At any given moment in the show, there are myriad basic logic within a scene to larger structural issues. It really only gets to 2 out of 10 because of acting, and even then, only really Walton Goggins. That dude is like the fucking Titan Colossus holding the world on his back. Once he decides he's made enough money and doesn't need from this show fucking collapses.
Yeah.
Bezos will throw billions at Goggins. This show, he'll have to.
I'll tell you what, I do want to watch like the other like Western shows that he's been in and stuff. Like he is
like Justified. Yeah, he's awesome in Justified.
Like, he's an outstanding actor. So.
He's fucking phenomenal in all the Tarantino movies he's in.
He's in Tarantino movies?
He's in Django. He's in
okay.
The
That makes sense because those two make sense specifically because they're both very Western.
He played a cross-dressing character in Sons of Anarchy in a couple of different episodes.
Oh, interesting.
He's an amazing actor.
Okay. The only movie I think I've seen with him in it is Ant-Man and the Wasp. So
I haven't even seen that movie, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it was alright.
It was all right.
It wasn't bad. I didn't hate it. Pretty enjoyable. All right. Anyway, if you liked this episode, thank you so much for listening. If you listened on YouTube, thanks again. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you liked or didn't like about this season of Fallout or about this show that you just listened to. And be sure to like the episode, share it with your friends, your family, anybody that listened or not listened, watched Fallout Season 2, or listened if they're second screening it, I mean, no judgment. I mean, a little bit of judgment, but no judgment. At least this wasn't a Netflix show, then it would have been really obnoxious. If you listened to this show on Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. Please be sure to rate and review the show. 5 stars preferred. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't like. Delilah, what's the next episode of Reap the Spoils?
Resident Evil Requiem.
You gotta do the voice. Resident Evil Requiem.
I
Actually,
tried. I
guys,
just don't have enough, Adam's apple in my throat.
I got you.
guys, you're wrong about the title though. It's actually Resident Evil Requiem.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
realage. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to, after this game comes out, I'm gonna have to find something new to live for because this is my most anticipated game.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It's gonna come out and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna finish it and be like, what do I even do?
I know. It's
Like,
just,
what do I do with my life now?
I feel the same way. This year blows its load with Knights of the Seven Kingdoms and now Resident Evil 9 so early. Just blowing this year's blowing its load on two fronts.
Yeah, I'm being a little facetious. There are other things that I'm looking forward to, but definitely nothing on the quite on par with Resident Evil Requiem. So very looking forward to playing that game and talking to you guys about it in the next episode. So
Yes.
yeah, if you want to listen to next episode next month, be sure to pick up Resident Evil Requiem, give it a go, give it a playthrough. We'll talk about it then. And as always, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Goodbye, folks.